Chicken is one of the cheapest meats you can get. Leo remembered back when he was a kid that his family was poor. So poor they hardly ever saw meat on the table. Once a week, his mother would buy a pack of discounted frozen drumsticks and a chicken carcass from the grocery store to cook for him. To his younger self, a chicken drumstick was the most delicious food in the world. He couldn't remember how much those discounted drumsticks cost, but the price of the chicken carcass was burned into his memory. $1 or $2 for a bony frame, picked clean of most of its meat. It wasn't like the crispy, golden-fried chicken pieces you'd get from a food stall, thick with meat and coated in batter. A chicken carcass was what was left over after the breast meat and organs were removed at the processing plant. A hollowed-out rib cage with just a little meat clinging to the spine. Most people bought them to make soup stock or as a chew toy for their pets. Almost no one bought them to eat as a meal. His mom would chop the carcass into small pieces and stir-fry it with chili peppers. It looked appetizing enough when it came out of the pan, but really, all you could do was suck the flavor from the bones to make the rice go down. The drumsticks were braised in a little bit of marinade, with a bit too much salt to cover up any gamey taste from the cheap ingredients. There would be 5 drumsticks. His mother would eat 1, his father would eat 1, and the remaining 3 were his. But for a child who was chronically malnourished, 3 drumsticks were never enough, especially since it wasn't a daily meal. So Leo always ate them carefully. Very carefully. He would pick the bones clean, not leaving a single shred of meat behind, even chewing on the soft cartilage at the joints. Later, as he got a little older, his mother worried he wasn't getting enough to eat. She started giving him her drumstick too, eating only the stir-fried chicken bones with her rice. Leo would always ask her, his voice full of childish innocence, "If I eat your drumstick, won't you be hungry, Mom?" She would smile, stroke his head, and say softly, "Of course not. When my little Leo is full from eating drumsticks, Mommy gets to eat a whole plate of fried chicken bones. They're my favorite. Really, of course it's true." If it weren't for the fact that his mother was eating less and less, her face growing paler by the day, Leo might have actually believed her. Then, one day, his mother collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. The diagnosis came back. Late-stage stomach cancer. Even with money, it would have been incurable. And they had no money. The naive little boy believed his mother got cancer because he had eaten her share of the chicken. He was consumed by a profound, suffocating guilt. At her bedside, Leo made a silent vow to never eat a chicken drumstick again. He watched his mother wither away, watched the illness torment her until she was unrecognizable, able to survive only on liquid food. Leo would often hide in a corner, head in his hands, and weep helplessly. Eventually, she couldn't eat it all. She was kept alive by a drip. One morning, she seemed to have a sudden burst of energy. She asked Leo to help her out of bed, and they went downstairs. Just like old times, they walked to the grocery store together. She bought a lot of good food, including chicken drumsticks. Not the frozen, discounted ones this time. They were fresh. And she didn't buy a chicken carcass. Back home, she cooked a feast for him. And on the table, a plate of chicken drumsticks. But Leo refused to eat a single bite. He hugged his mother, his eyes red and swollen. "I'm never eating chicken drumsticks again. I'm not eating anything. I just want you to be okay, Mom. I just want you to live. Don't cry, my sweet boy." His mother wiped away his tears, forcing her lips into that familiar, gentle smile. "Mommy will always be alive. Mommy will always make chicken drumsticks for her, Leo. Listen to me, eat well, and grow up strong." With a trembling hand, she used the last of her strength to pick up a drumstick and place it in his bowl. And then, it was the worst-tasting chicken drumstick Leo had ever eaten in his life. It was sour, bitter, astringent, and salty. It tasted of decay. The chicken was awful. So awful that he would never forget the taste as long as he lived. So awful that even now, he could remember the suffocating feeling of choking back sobs as he forced himself to eat it. And yet, despite how terrible it was, he found himself missing it. He longed to taste it again. Just once. As long as it was that taste. Now, having tasted it again, what? Did he feel even more heartbroken? The water in the bathroom sink was about to overflow. Leo didn't know if it was from the faucet or from his tears. Knock, knock. Julianne knocked on the bathroom door again and again. Leo didn't respond, and it was starting to scare her. She tried one last time. "Leo, are you okay? Just say something. If you don't answer, I'm coming in." Inside, there was only the sound of running water. No other response. Now, she was really panicking. Julianne shoved the bathroom door open and rushed inside. The lock on the door had been broken for years and was never fixed. When she pushed the door open, the sight before her made her freeze. Leo was leaning over the sink, his face a mess of tears and water. Leo was crying. "What? What's wrong?" Julianne asked, her voice a soft, careful whisper. The sound broke Leo out of his trance. He slowly turned to look at Julianne, who had burst into the bathroom. He wanted to stop crying, to control himself, but he couldn't. Can you cool me? A little closer. Leo was crying so hard he could barely breathe, struggling to form a complete sentence. Julianne didn't know what he wanted, but without hesitation, she took a step toward him. The small, rickety bathroom door slowly swung shut. In the tiny space, they were so close they could hear each other's heartbeats. The boy, his emotions spiraling, pulled the girl into his arms. She stiffened for a second, a low sob echoing in her ear. The boy's body was trembling. He was so tall, so imposing, yet right now he felt like a helpless, abandoned kitten. Leo, what on earth have you been through? The girl gently patted the boy's back. She didn't say a word, just quietly, rhythmically patting him, trying her best to comfort this broken boy with the gentlest touch she could manage. As he held her, a hollow, empty part of his heart felt like it was instantly filled. Her warm embrace felt just like his childhood. On summer nights, sitting on the front porch to cool off, he would lean against his mother. A cool breeze would drift by. It carried the scent of jasmine. Leo, are you all right? Julianne, what are you two doing in there? Her mother's voice startled Julianne. Leo, too, snapped back to reality. He quickly let go of Julianne and plunged his face into the sink full of water, trying to clear his head. Julianne took a few deep breaths to compose herself, then quickly opened the door. It's nothing, Mom. Leo skipped breakfast and was feeling sick to his stomach. He just came in here to throw up. The lie came to her so naturally. She almost impressed herself. It was a perfect excuse to save Leo from any embarrassment. Oh my, is it serious? Seeing Leo's face dripping with water, Clara Hale came into the room, grabbed a towel from the rack, and said, Julianne, give Leo your face towel to dry off. Okay, Julianne nodded. A girl usually wouldn't let someone else use her personal towel, especially not a body towel. Thank you, Mrs. Hale. I'm fine, Leo said, wiping his face. It's an old problem. Whenever my stomach acts up, I get nauseous. The pain even brought tears to my eyes at the table just now. I'm sorry for being so rude. Oh, don't be silly, dear, Clara said, gently patting his back. We're family here. There's no such thing as being rude at the dinner table. Do you want Julianne to run down and get you some stomach medicine? No, it's okay, Mrs. Hale. Really, Leo said with a small smile. The worst of it is over. I'm fine now. After drying his face and wringing out the towel, Leo followed the two of them back to the dining table. Clara came over with a glass of warm water. Here, drink some of this. Thank you, Mrs. Hale. Stomach problems always come from not eating properly. You young people always skipping breakfast, Clara said as she ladled some soup into a bowl for Leo. Here, have some soup. Warm up your stomach before you eat. I'm sorry for all the trouble. Don't talk about trouble. You don't have to be so formal here. Okay, thank you. Though he didn't actually have stomach problems, the lie had been told, so Leo could only nod and play along. To prevent another emotional breakdown, he didn't touch the remaining fried chicken on his plate. Clara, thinking he didn't like it, said, I didn't buy any proper seasoning today, and we were running low at home. The chicken didn't turn out very well. I hope you're not too disappointed, Leo. No, not at all. Everything was delicious, Leo said, waving his hand dismissively. Especially the chicken. It was so good I couldn't bear to eat it all at once. I was saving it for last. Oh, listen to you? Clara chuckled. If you like it that much, you can take it all home with you. Mom, he's not going to. Julianne started to protest, thinking Leo's a rich kid. He's had every gourmet meal imaginable. Why would he want our poorly seasoned fried chicken? But before she could finish, Leo cut in, his voice filled with an unexpected excitement. Really? Can I? Huh? Oh. Leo's response caught Julianne completely off guard. She turned to look at him. He seemed genuinely happy. Julianne looked down at the piece of chicken in her own bowl, picked it up, and took a bite. It was just ordinary fried chicken. Nothing special about it at all. Remembering the helpless, tear-streaked boy in the bathroom, Julianne thought she might be starting to understand something. There had to be a secret behind Leo's love for fried chicken. If he wouldn't tell her himself, she'd just have to find a way to get out of him next time. An idea began to form in her mind. After lunch, Leo felt it would be rude to stay any longer. He prepared to leave, holding a thermos container packed with a whole bowl of fried chicken. He hadn't taken any of the other food. Well, Mrs. Hale, I should get going. Wait a minute, Leo, Clara said, stopping him. She grabbed a large portion of the health supplements from the living room table and tried to push them into his hands. Listen to me. Take some of these back with you. I really can't eat this much. Take them to your parents. Mrs. Hale, I couldn't possibly. You can't take back a gift you've already given. Leo quickly pushed her hand away. Please go back inside. I really have to go. Thank you so much for your hospitality today. With that, Leo hurried down the stairs. Hey, this. Seeing him rush off, Clara quickly shoved $200 into her daughter's hand. Go see your friend off. This is for him, a return gift. Okay, got it, Mom. Julianne took the money and chased after him. Leo hadn't gone far. He was sitting in his car, the door ajar, the engine rumbling softly. He knew Julianne would follow him, so he had waited. You run so fast, like a rabbit, Julianne said, holding out her hand. Here, my mom wanted me to give you this. I don't want it, Leo said, shaking his head. You know I don't need money. I knew you'd say that. Julianne didn't bother arguing, just stuffed the cash back into her pocket. So, you just gonna leave like that? Huh? Leo asked, feigning surprise. What else am I supposed to do? Kiss you goodbye before I go. Julianne's face flushed. Get lost. Not a chance. See? Look at that attitude, Leo pouted. If I don't leave like this, how else am I supposed to leave? Julianne stared him straight in the eye. Don't you think you should tell me something? Tell you what. Leo played dumb, hoping to get away with it. But Julianne wasn't letting him off the hook. She asked him point blank, why were you crying in the bathroom? Stomachache. Julianne rolled her eyes. I'm the one who came up with that excuse for you. Leo deliberately turned his head to look at the steering wheel. Fine, my eyes were hurting then. Julianne bit the inside of her cheek in frustration. You jerk. You still won't tell me the truth. That's right, sweet cheeks. A sly grin spread across Leo's face. He reached out and playfully pinched her nose. You know I'm not going to tell you anything. So why do you keep asking? You got a thing for questions or something? Go to hell. Julianne swatted his hand away. This young master is immortal. Leo declared with dramatic flair, then shut his car door. See you tomorrow night. And with that, he ignored Julianne's protest through the closed window, hit the gas, and sped away. Jerk. Takes advantage of me and runs. What kind of person is he? Julianne muttered angrily. But then, she remembered. The other night, right downstairs from her apartment, hadn't she taken advantage of him, too? Whatever, she thought. Or even now. Call it a wash. Julianne grumbled to herself, her thoughts drifting back to the moment in the bathroom when Leo had pulled her into his arms. Her face turned red all over again. Ethelberg Royal Academy. In the original story, after the water was shut off for the weekend, the kind-hearted Saraphina, Rose gave her stored water to her roommates, Stacy and Zoe, so they could shower. She was left without any water herself, which set off a chain of events. But this time, because Stacy and Zoe had a falling out, they weren't staying on campus for the weekend. Saraphina's water shortage never happened. After a blissful afternoon nap, Saraphina pulled the curtains shut, got up, and took a quick shower. She emerged from the bathroom wrapped in a fluffy towel. Being alone in the dorm was liberating. She didn't have to interact with anyone, didn't have to meticulously maintain her image, didn't have to worry about anyone's gaze. She could do whatever felt good. For Saraphina, who had grown up under a strict and formal code of conduct, this was paradise. How wild I am. How unclean / 80,000 pages written on my sins. Rebellious indie rock from a band called the Cynics blasted from her phone. Wrapped in her towel, she sat at her desk, slurping instant ramen and humming along, a can of Coke at her side. A few days ago, Julianne had seen she'd skipped a meal and given her a cup of instant noodles. Her upbringing had drilled into her that such things were junk food. But after Julianne had practically forced her to try it, she had fallen completely in love with the taste. This one was a spicy flavor she'd picked up from the campus store that morning. She had bought 5 different flavors of cup noodles, and with the dorm to herself, she was going to savor every single one. Even the water shut down didn't matter. She had filled up all 4 of her roommates' thermoses the night before. They were all brand new, with excellent insulation. After a full night, the water was still steaming hot, perfect for making ramen. At home, she could only listen to rock music in secret. Her family found it noisy and vulgar, unfit for a place of high culture. She had been trained exclusively in classical music, but she had never truly enjoyed its grand, rigid structure. But it didn't matter now. She was in her dorm, completely alone. No one could tell her what to listen to. She took a long gulp of Coke, let out a satisfying burp, and hummed contentedly. If Leo could have seen this version of Saraphina, completely letting loose, his jaw would have hit the floor. The Saraphina in his book was supposed to be the eternally graceful and perfect heroine. How had she turned into this? As she was slurping her noodles, the music suddenly stopped. An incoming voice call from Damien Sterling. The blissfully relaxed Saraphina panicked, fumbling to put the lid back on her ramen and wipe her mouth. After a moment, she realized it was a voice call, not video. He couldn't see her. What was she so nervous about, Few? Saraphina took a deep breath, cleared her throat, and answered the call. Hello. Hey, Saraphina. Where are you? Oh, I'm in my dorm. What's up? I'm bored at home this weekend. I was thinking of coming to hang out. Well, what's wrong? Is it not a good time? Saraphina didn't answer directly. Instead, she asked, when do you think you'll get here? Probably in about half an hour. Okay then, I should be free in half an hour. Great. See you then. After Damien hung up, Saraphina put down her phone and let out a long sigh of relief. Glancing at the clock, she scrambled to find an outfit, then started applying light makeup and blow-drying her hair. Finally, she cleaned up the trash on her desk and changed her shoes. Just as she finished, Damien arrived downstairs. Because of her little rebellion in the dorm, she now felt a bit guilty meeting him, finding it hard to look him in the eye. But Damien was staring right at her, his gaze so intense it felt like he could see right through her. Is there something on my face? Saraphina asked nervously. No, not at all. Damien quickly shook his head. You look really beautiful today. Oh, thank you. Saraphina was pleased by the compliment, but being her reserved self, she just offered a small, demure smile. Damien sounded a little nervous himself. I hope me just showing up like this isn't bothering you. No, Saraphina said with a small shake of her head. I just finished my nap. Good. Get in. Damien, ever the gentleman, opened the passenger door of his sports car for her. Thank you. You're welcome. Saraphina nodded and slid gracefully into the seat. Because Leo had disrupted the original plot, Saraphina's impression of Damien was still quite good. She didn't see him as an unreasonable tyrant, probably because he had used up all his alpha billionaire lines on Leo. So where are we going? Saraphina asked, looking at Damien. Since he had invited her out, she assumed he had a plan. In reality, he had no idea. Stumped, Damien thought for a few seconds before saying, hang on a sec. He pulled out his phone and immediately messaged Leo for help. My boy Damien. Miller, got any good ideas for a weekend date? That's right. Leo's contact name for Damien was My Boy Damien. Leo had just gotten home in his minivan, ready for a nap, when his phone buzzed. He thought it was another message from Julianne, but it was Damien. Leo thought for a moment and typed back. Go for a bike ride, take a walk, maybe flower arranging or pottery class. Hit up a driving range, get some afternoon tea, then a candlelight dinner at night. A full, perfect day. My boy Damien. Thanks, Miller. You're a lifesaver. Leo, don't mention it. Armed with advice from his master strategist, Damien turned to Saraphina with newfound confidence. How about we go for a bike ride around the island? Saraphina glanced down at her dress, then gritted her teeth and agreed. Okay, riding a bike in a dress wasn't ideal, but if they went slowly, it should be fine. And the idea of the two of them leisurely pedaling a tandem bike along the coast with the sea breeze in their hair. It sounded quite romantic. Except Saraphina's idea of a bike ride and Damien's idea of a bike ride were apparently not the same thing at all. When they arrived, Damien had 2 professional road bikes waiting for them. He put on a helmet and grinned. We'll each take a bike. Let's race. First one to complete a full lap around the island wins. What? Staring at the bike in front of her, all of Saraphina's romantic fantasies shattered. Is this guy crazy? She fumed internally. I'm wearing a dress, and he wants to race me on a bike? Saraphina clutched her skirt. I think maybe we should just, on your marks, get set, go. Damien shouted, hopping on his bike and taking off like a shot. Hey, wait up. Seeing him disappear into the distance, Saraphina didn't dare stay behind alone. With no other choice, she got on her bike and started pedaling furiously to catch up. Lying on the massive bed in his family's mansion, Leo felt that the plan he had given Damien was absolutely perfect. The two of them would ride bikes along the beach, then hold hands as they strolled to a cafe for dessert and coffee, talking about life. After that, maybe some pottery making. In the evening, a candlelight dinner, a little wine to set the mood, a heartfelt confession at the table, and finally, a deep, meaningful kiss. It couldn't be more perfect. But reality was far from Leo's perfect vision. For the bike ride, Damien pedaled with all his might, leaving Saraphina miles behind. Eventually, Saraphina got so frustrated she stopped caring about her image, tied up her skirt, and stood up on the pedals to chase after him. After the ride, Saraphina didn't care about her image at all. She was so exhausted she collapsed right onto the grass. Damien, seeing this, lay down beside her, grinning. I'm pretty good, right? You. Hearing his smug tone, Saraphina gritted her teeth, wishing she had the energy to get up and punch him. But she was too tired to even speak, let alone throw a punch. Hungry. After lying there for a bit, Damien got up. Let me treat you to afternoon tea. Fine. Having recovered slightly, Saraphina also got up, dusting off her dress. She thought Damien's idea of afternoon tea meant a cafe with coffee and cake. Instead, he took her to a hole-in-the-wall taco truck. From half a block away, the pungent smell of grilled meat, onions, and spicy salsa hit her, and she instinctively pinched her nose, holding her breath. Who on earth eats this stuff? Saraphina wailed internally. Damien ordered the works, the LG special. She assumed they were sharing it. And, while the smell was a little overwhelming, the thought of them splitting a plate of messy tacos, sitting face to face, was actually kind of romantic. But then the guy at the window handed them 2 identical, massive platters. Damien had ordered one for each of them. There was no way a girl her size could eat all that. When the food arrived on 2 paper plates, the sheer volume of it shocked her. Damien, trying a taco for the first time, took a bite, and his eyes lit up. Come on, eat. I asked them to go easy on the habanero salsa, so it's not that spicy. It's actually really good. Hearing his encouragement, Saraphina looked down at the plate of tacos dripping with sauce and grease, closed her eyes, and took a bite. Just as Damien had said, it wasn't overwhelmingly spicy. The meat was savory and juicy, the toppings were fresh and zesty, and the warm corn tortilla, holding it all together, was delicious. With just one bite, Saraphina was in love with this food, just as she'd fallen in love with instant ramen. It's really good, right? Damien smiled. I've been wanting to try a real taco truck for a while. I heard the authentic ones are amazing. If I get the chance, I'd love to go to Mexico and try the real deal. Saraphina wiped her mouth. It's definitely not what I was expecting. Looks like I brought you to the right place, then. Damien grinned. He had been worried Saraphina wouldn't like this kind of food, but now it seemed his worries were completely unfounded. He lowered his head and started devouring his tacos, his movements fast and eager, just like Leo's. Ever since getting that spark of inspiration from Leo, Damien had completely let himself go, eating however he pleased. Saraphina held her own taco, watching Damien thoughtfully. He grew up with the same strict upbringing as me, she thought. How can he be so uninhibited in front of others? What are you looking at me for? Eat up, Damien said cheerfully. Oh, right. Saraphina looked down and began eating her tacos in small, delicate bites. As she ate, a strange idea popped into her head. A few seconds later, she picked up her taco and, copying Damien, took a huge bite. At first, it was a mouthful, then an even bigger one, until she was eating just as voraciously as he was. Eating like this was a completely different experience from her usual polite nibbling. It was exhilarating, and no one was there to scold her for her table manners. More importantly, with Damien making a fool of himself right alongside her, she wasn't afraid at all. After their taco truck afternoon tea, Damien drove them to a boba shop for drinks. Boba tea, another thing she had always wanted to try, but never had the chance to. Her nutritionist had told her it was full of sugar that would make her gain weight, yellow her complexion, and cause all sorts of health problems. So this is what boba tea tastes like. Damien took a sip, and his eyes lit up as if he'd discovered a new continent. Seeing Saraphina holding her straw, hesitating, Damien asked, "Why aren't you drinking it? Here, let me open it for you." Saraphina obediently handed her drink and straw to Damien. He expertly poked the straw through the plastic seal. Saraphina took a sip. It was cold and sweet, a single sip bringing a rush of happiness. And the popping boba bursting in her mouth was incredibly satisfying. Boba tea. Maybe it wasn't so bad after all. After that, they spent a long time wandering down the street, buying all sorts of cheap food they had never eaten before. Saraphina gradually let go of her heiress baggage. She tried a bite of the bacon-wrapped hot dog from Damien's plate and even playfully snatched a piece of his funnel cake. Throughout the afternoon, she grew happier and happier. They went to Crescent Bay Beach. On the sand, Damien built a beautiful sand castle, and Saraphina, like a mischievous child, deliberately kicked it down. Damien threw a handful of sand at her, and she ran away, laughing. As they watched the sunset over the ocean, Saraphina said to Damien, "Thank you. I had a lot of fun today. A really, really lot of fun." "You're welcome," Damien said with a soft smile. "I'll tell you a secret. The bike raced this afternoon. I did that on purpose." "What?" Saraphina stared at him, stunned. Damien was looking at her, too, their eyes meeting. "I don't know why," he said, "but I always felt like you and I are similar. Like we're both living by rules someone else made for us. We both want to break free, but you seem to care more about the rules, more hesitant to break them. So, I gave you a little push. You're something else. Who needed your help?" "Ha ha." Hearing his words, Saraphina burst out laughing. It was strange. She was laughing, but her eyes felt warm and wet. That kind of loud, unrestrained laughter would have been absolutely forbidden at home. But here, on this beach, no one could control her. She could be like Damien, completely herself. After the sunset, Damien took Saraphina to a 7-Eleven and bought 2 cups of instant noodles. Sitting on a bench outside the convenience store, Saraphina asked Damien, "So this is the special dinner you were telling me about?" "Yep." Damien pointed to the moon above, then to the noodles on the table. "Under the moonlight on the side of the road, with a cup of ramen. It's romantic, okay? And let me tell you, the spicy beef flavor is the best. You've probably never had it, have you?" "No," Saraphina said with a smile. "Everything you've had me try today was a first for me. Actually, it was my first time trying most of that stuff, too," Damien admitted. "I should be thanking you. I wouldn't have had the guts to try it all by myself." "I should be the one thanking you," Saraphina said, her gaze soft as she looked at him. "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have known that you can ride a bike in a dress. That afternoon tea doesn't have to be fancy coffee and delicate pastries. That boba tea and street food can be so much fun. That laughing out loud won't get you criticized." "Well, now you know one more awesome thing." Damien peeled back the lid of her ramen cup. "Instant noodles are amazing." "Haha, okay." Saraphina laughed and nodded. Meanwhile, Leo, who had slept through the afternoon until evening, was woken up by a housekeeper for dinner. The first thing he did was send Damien a text, asking for a progress report. Damien replied with a picture of the 2 of them eating instant noodles on a curb. Leo stared at the photo, his vision went dark, and he threw his phone onto the bed. "And then after we finished the ramen, I bought her a Coke, and on the way back, I got her 2 of those roller grill hot dogs from the convenience store." "Hey, Miller, are you even listening?" "I'm listening," Leo said, lying in bed, simultaneously texting Julianne while listening to Damien's recap of his date with Saraphina. Damien had only given him the broad strokes, leaving out the details of their conversations. So, to Leo, the story sounded like a textbook case of a clueless idiot dragging a girl on a competitive bike race, feeding her junk food all afternoon, letting her get sunburned at the beach, and ending the night with instant ramen, soda, and a greasy hot dog from 7-Eleven. This wasn't a date. This was less organized than a middle school field trip. Leo figured the 2 of them were on the verge of a breakup. As the original author, he couldn't be bothered to intervene anymore. Damien was a lost cause, as dumb as a box of rocks. Setting everything else aside, what normal person invites a girl out for afternoon tea, a taco truck? The guy had to have brain damage. On the other end of the line, Damien was oblivious to the fact that Leo now considered him a complete fool. He continued enthusiastically, "So, Miller, what's my next move? I feel like Saraphina and I are pretty close now. Should I find a chance to confess?" "Do whatever you want," Leo said, a deep frown line forming on his forehead. "Just don't tell anyone I was the one who gave you dating advice." Damien, thinking Leo was just being humble, readily agreed. "Got it, Miller." Distracted by a chat with Julianne, Leo replied absently, "Okay, I gotta go. Talk later." "All right." After hanging up, Damien looked at the half-hour call log with Leo and muttered to himself, "Miller helped me so much, but it doesn't seem like he's making any progress with Julianne. Maybe I should help him out. But how?" Lying on his 1,000-square-foot bed, just kidding, our alpha billionaire hero, Damien Sterling, fell into deep thought. Leo had no idea what was brewing in Damien's mind. After ending the call, he quietly changed Damien's contact name from My Boy Damien to Lost Cause. He was done meddling with his son from his book. Whether he and the heroine got together or not had nothing to do with him anymore, as long as it didn't interfere with his own life as a pampered young master. Just as he saved the new contact name, several more messages from Julianne came through. "Julianne, Leo, what do you think of my first chapter?" "Julianne, is the pacing okay?" "Julianne, this is my 3rd draft of the opening. You're not going to tell me it's still terrible, are you?" "Julianne, why aren't you answering?" "Julianne, did I scare you off?" Reading her messages, Leo smirked and typed back, "I don't reply for 1 minute and you send a whole novel." "Julianne, I was getting anxious." "Julianne, so did you read it? What do you think?" "Leo, it's decent. A lot better than before. But the pacing still feels a little slow. Maybe compress the main character's intro even more, get the conflict out there in the first 500 words, then cut to the hero's big rescue scene. Wouldn't that be better?" "Julianne, now that you mention it, that does sound better. I'll give it another try." "Leo, sound good." "Julianne, writing is so exhausting. I haven't even finished the beginning, and I already want to quit." "Leo, don't get discouraged. You're going to be a great writer. You can't let a small hurdle like this stop you." "Julianne. Julianne, yeah, you're right. No more whining. Time to get back to it." Inspired by Leo's encouragement, Julianne crawled out of bed and started working on the 4th version of her novel's opening. Her chat window went quiet, and Leo didn't message her again, not wanting to disturb her. He could picture her perfectly, leaning against her headboard, legs crossed, propped up on pillows, diligently typing away on that old, cracked phone. He knew because he had done the same thing. Late one night, full of confidence, he had used a broken phone to write the first book of his life. Everyone wants to be a great writer, but it's never that easy. Julianne spent over an hour revising her opening. By the time she finished, it was past 11, but she sent it to Leo immediately. She figured he would see it first thing when he woke up in the morning. But then she thought again. That was unlikely. Her phone was always flooded with spam notifications in the morning. A message from the night before would be buried at the bottom. Who would even notice it? Just as she was thinking this, she saw Leo's name appear with the words, "Is typing." A moment later, his message came through. "Yeah, this is great. This opening is solid. Stick with this one and keep writing. Julianne, I thought this one was the best too." Julianne's heart soared at his praise. "Julianne, why are you still awake?" "Leo, I just fell asleep. You woke me up." A total lie. Leo hadn't been sleeping at all. He had been mindlessly scrolling through videos to kill time, waiting for her to send him the draft. But stubborn as he was, he would never admit he had been waiting for her message. "Julianne, are you blaming me?" "Leo, of course I'm blaming you. You disturbed my beauty sleep." "Julianne, so I guess I should make it up to you?" Leo saw his opening. "Let me see your legs." As compensation for my mental distress. Reading his message, Julianne smiled to herself. She knew it. She had already figured out all his little tricks. "Julianne, didn't I already show you last time?" "Leo, you have a nerve to bring that up. That picture of the pig trotter just made me hungry in the middle of the night." "Julianne, ha ha." "Julianne, so what do you want to see this time? A table leg? A chair leg?" "Leo, I want to see Julianne Hale's legs." Julianne reporting. "Julianne Hale does not have hooves. Only legs." She followed it up with a cute sticker. "Leo, then let me see your legs." "Julianne, they're in your dreams. Go look there." "Leo, I'm gonna you." "Julianne, you're mad." Leo was already exhausted. After just a few more messages with Julianne, his eyelids grew heavy, and the phone slipped from his hand, landing on the pillow next to him, miraculously not hitting him in the face. Julianne sent a few more messages. When Leo didn't reply, she guessed he had fallen asleep. A fake sleeper says goodnight. A real sleeper just disappears. "That idiot," she murmured to herself. "He was probably waiting for me to finish writing the whole time." The sharp-witted Julianne had figured it all out. Even through the screen, she could feel his quiet company and a warmth spread through her chest. She put her phone down, closed her eyes, and with a small smile on her lips, drifted off into a sweet sleep. The 2-day weekend passed in a flash. After dinner on Sunday evening, it was time to head back to campus. After he had graduated, Leo had often found himself missing his college days. Sometimes he even wished he could wake up one morning and find himself transported back to the start of freshman year. He felt that if he could do it all over again, he could make his college experience so much more exciting. But in reality, that was just a fantasy. You only miss school after you've left it. If you were actually forced to go back, you'd be miserable within 3 days. Leo was already miserable. Aside from the first few days of school and the week after the freshman orientation boot camp, his initial excitement for college life had faded. The days that followed were pure agony, mostly because he truly could not wrap his head around finance. It gave him a massive headache. Sometimes Leo wondered, I'm already a wealthy young master who doesn't have to worry about anything. Why'd I still have to go to this stupid school? Wouldn't it be better to just go home and inherit the family fortune? But then he'd remember how much importance Charles had placed on him becoming class president. It was a clear sign that his parents wanted him to take his studies seriously. If he dropped out of college and went to his father asking to inherit the family business, he'd most likely get his ass kicked. And getting his ass kicked would be the least of his worries. If his father froze his funds again like last time, he'd be truly screwed. Besides, even if Charles agreed to let him take over, he had zero management experience. He wouldn't know the first thing about running such a large company. So it was better to just stay in school, play the part of the rich heir, and help the Miller family spend their money. It was like that old saying, the quickest way to make a small fortune is to start with a large one and try to start a business. He was saving them the trouble. For now, Charles was treating him well. As long as Leo didn't cross any major lines, his father wouldn't cut him off. And what if he suddenly woke up one day back in the real world? All the blood, sweat, and tears he'd poured into building an empire in this book would vanish in a thin air. So, it was best to just lie back and enjoy the ride. His standards weren't high anyway. As long as he had food to eat, clothes to wear, and didn't starve to death in the world of his own creation, he was fine with everything else. Embracing this slacker mentality, Leo happily drove his sleek sports car back to campus. Tonight was the freshman welcome concert. The grand university gates were already adorned with banners and beautiful wreaths of flowers. As he drove through the entrance, the scent of flowers filled the air. The security guard at the gate saw his car from a distance and raised the barrier, stepping out of his booth to give Leo a respectful bow. Leo gave him a cheerful wave and drove onto campus. After a month of being a rich guy, he was slowly starting to tone it down, unlike when he first arrived, radiating the energy of a tacky new money cliché. Julianne, are you at school yet? Leo had just parked his car when a message from Julianne popped up. Leo, just parked downstairs from the dorms. Julianne, hurry up and come to the main field for the concert. I saved you a seat. Leo wanted to reply, what's so great about a freshman concert? I'd rather stay in my room and watch thirst trap videos on my phone. But then he considered that Julianne had gone out of her way to save him a seat. It would be pretty rude not to go. So, he replied, okay, on my way. Just to be clear, he told himself, I'm only gracing this event with my presence because she saved me a seat. I had absolutely no desire to go to this concert with her before this. When Leo arrived at the concert venue, the field wasn't very crowded yet. It made sense. It was a weekend after all. People were busy enjoying their time off. Who had time for a boring welcome concert? Even he himself had written in his book that the concert was dull and poorly attended. Until Saraphina Rose accidentally stumbled onto the stage and her beautiful singing attracted a massive crowd. Tonight, Saraphina hadn't gotten lost and hadn't been mistaken for a performer. Instead, she was sitting next to Julianne and Damien, happily chatting about something. Next to Julianne was an empty seat. It was the one she had saved for him. Julianne saw him and stood up, waving. Over here. Leo walked over. Julianne patted the seat next to her. I saved this just for you. Don't thank me too much. Oh. Leo's heart was doing flips, but he maintained a nonchalant expression. I'm not really interested in the welcome concert, to be honest. Sleeping in my dorm sounds more appealing. He expected Julianne to look a little disappointed, but instead, she gave him a mischievous grin. Then you can go. I'll just find some other handsome guy to sit next to me. You dare. Julianne squinted at him. You said you weren't interested. Why are you getting so worked up? Leo felt a little embarrassed. She had just been bluffing, and he had fallen for it completely. It was strange. He wasn't usually this easy to fool. Why was his brain not working so well lately? Because this seat now belongs to this young master, he thought, scrambling for an excuse. And no one can sit here but me. Pfft. Hearing his childish words, Julianne covered her mouth and let out a small laugh. Next to her, Damien frowned and scratched his head, thinking that's weird. Those words sound so familiar. Wait a minute, that's the kind of stuff I always say. When did this guy steal my lines? After Leo sat down, Damien suddenly sent him a message on his phone. Leo was puzzled. They were only separated by 2 girls. What could possibly need to be said in secret? He opened his phone and saw the message. Damien, Miller, thanks for all your help lately. How about a surprise for you tonight, too? Seize the opportunity. Leo stared at the cryptic message and slowly typed a single question mark. Leo? Then he looked up at Damien. Damien looked back, giving him an encouraging smile. Though he had no idea what the guy was talking about, Leo typed back a reply. Let me emphasize again, don't ever mention that I was your relationship coach. Damien, I get it. You like to be low-key. Leo didn't reply, but he thought to himself, no, it's because I can't afford the embarrassment. The freshman welcome concert. Back when he was a freshman at USC, Leo had attended one of these. It was mind-numbingly boring. If his roommate hadn't dragged him there, he would have left early. He watched for a whole evening, and besides the last 10 minutes when a senior from the music department came on stage to sing 2 sweet pop songs, every other act was forgettable. So forgettable that he couldn't remember a single one of them the next day. Later, he wrote that experience into his book. Except in the story, the one who wowed the crowd wasn't a music major, but the talented and perfect heroine. The Ethelberg Royal Academy's welcome concert was a bit more interesting than USC's, probably because the school was loaded and willing to spend money on it. The upperclassmen, eager for credits and prizes, were performing with genuine effort. By 8:30 p.m., the concert was halfway through, and every seat on the field was taken. People who arrived late were sitting on the grass. Julianne tilted her head up, looking at Leo with a touch of pride. See? Wasn't I smart to come early and grab these seats? Yep, you're a genius. Julianne shot him a glare. You're patronizing me. I am not. Seeing her feigned anger, Leo felt a smile tugging at his lips, but tried to suppress it. You're asking for it. Julianne watched his half-smiling expression and reached over to pinch his side. Hey, Leo started to yelp. Julianne cut him off. I hear that Spot is super sensitive on guys who are, this. Hearing this, Leo sucked in a sharp breath, forcing the word ow back down his throat. He said through gritted teeth, "Not sensitive at all. I don't feel a thing." "Oh, really? In pretty good shape, are we?" Julianne's eyes narrowed like a sly fox, a triumphant smile playing on her lips as she didn't lessen her grip. "Hiss." Leo forced a smile. He knew he'd been had again. This girl was a master of setting traps. At 9:15, the time the original plot was supposed to trigger, Leo glanced at his watch, then at Saraphina sitting next to Julianne. He wondered how the story would unfold tonight. Unless the headlining senior didn't get an upset stomach, the concert would have to end early. Just as he was thinking this, the female host, dressed in an evening gown, walked onto the stage. "Tonight, we want to give a special thanks to the Sterling Corporation for sponsoring our stage equipment. And, as a special exception, we will be adding a temporary performance to the schedule. Please welcome to the stage, Leo Miller." Hearing Leo's name, Julianne turned to him, her face a mask of astonishment. "You secretly signed up behind my back." "What? Huh?" Leo had been ready to watch the drama unfold, but now the drama was about him. What was going on? Sterling Corporation? Leo suddenly remembered the text Damien had sent him. "This is the surprise you prepared for me." "Yep." Damien walked over to Leo, grinning. "Seize the opportunity, Miller." "Wait, you, me?" Leo was at a loss for words. He thought Damien's surprise was some kind of gift. He never imagined Damien would pull strings to get his name added to the performance list. This wasn't a surprise. This was a nightmare. That bastard Damien. He had been kind enough to be his coach, to help him strategize, and just because Damien was too dumb to win over Saraphina himself, he had to get petty and stab him in the back. Before Leo could process it further, Damien grabbed his arm and pulled him to his feet, whispering in his ear, "Miller, you've helped me so many times. It's my turn to help you. You have to take this chance. Get up there and sing Iris like you did at orientation. Win her over right now." The truth was, Damien hadn't meant to sabotage Leo. His reasoning was simple. If Leo sang a love song to Julianne in front of the whole school, it would be such a grand, romantic gesture that she would be completely smitten. To be fair, when he wasn't thinking about his own love life, Damien could be quite creative. "What are you talking about? Let go of me. I'm not going up there," Leo said, pushing Damien's hand away and turning to run. But as soon as he turned, his wrist was seized by Julianne. Leo looked at her. "What are you doing?" Julianne gave him a wicked smile. "Your good buddy went through all the trouble of signing you up. He'd be so hurt if you didn't go." As she spoke, she shot a look at Damien. Damien immediately grabbed Leo's other arm, and the two of them, one on each side, began marching Leo toward the stage. "Wait, are you two in on this together? Sterling, you can't trust her. This girl is pure evil. Julianne, you already set me up once during orientation, and now you're doing it again. Let go of me, you two." Like two farmers dragging a pig to slaughter, Damien and Julianne hauled Leo all the way to the stage, completely ignoring his verbal protests. Saraphina was still sitting in her seat, utterly bewildered. By the time she snapped out of it, Leo was already on stage. The host looked at the reluctant performer who had been dragged onto her stage and asked, "Are you Leo Miller?" Leo covered his face, mortified. "Can I say I'm not?" Down in the audience, Julianne, ever the pot stirrer, yelled, "He's Leo Miller." Then, she shot Leo a mischievous wink. The host lowered the microphone and whispered, "Dude, what are you performing? Do you need a backing track or anything?" Looking at the sea of curious eyes below, Leo let out a resigned laugh. "Well, since I'm already on stage, might as well live out the dream one more time. It's just a novel, anyway. If I make a fool of myself, so what?" Leo turned to the host. "Can I get an acoustic guitar?" One moment after speaking with Leo, the host raised the microphone and announced, "It looks like Leo Miller is going to treat us to a solo performance. Please be patient while our crew brings out a guitar for him." As she spoke, two student volunteers came on stage, one carrying a guitar and the other a stool. After plugging in the guitar and tuning it, Leo adjusted the mic stand and addressed the audience. "I was dragged up here by my friends, so I'm not really prepared. It's been a while since I played guitar, so I'm a little rusty. If it's not very good, I hope you'll forgive me. Thanks." As he finished, applause and shouts of encouragement rose from the crowd. He found himself enjoying the sound. If anyone had ever asked him why he learned to play guitar, he would have said, to look cool. That feeling of the spotlight on him, of everyone's eyes on him, as if he were the main character of a novel. But in reality, he had never performed for anyone. He hadn't dared to sing at orientation, and he had only ever practiced guitar in secret, alone. Even after he learned, he thought he sounded terrible and never shared it with anyone. After he started working, the guitar was relegated to the top of a closet in his apartment, collecting dust. If he hadn't been forced onto this stage, he might have forgotten he even knew how to play. Leo started with a light, cheerful whistle. The intro was to The $1 Million Porch. If I had $1 million one day, I'd keep all my favorite people with me to stay. We'd eat and we'd drink and we'd laugh all the time. Not a single worry about tomorrow or goodbyes. Why did Leo choose this song? Because it was the first song he had ever learned to play and sing all the way through on the guitar. And because getting rich had always been his dream. The boy who once hid in his room, strumming a cheap guitar he'd bought for a couple $100, recording videos he never had the courage to share, finally had an audience. And now, just like in the lyrics, he was rich. So, singing it again, his perspective had changed. Even his voice sounded lighter, more carefree. He was no longer the boy who had to humbly say that money isn't everything. He finally understood what it meant to say from the bottom of my heart that money isn't everything. On stage, Leo sang, and in the audience, Julianne smiled, her lips pressed together. He was closing his eyes, lost in a memory, while she watched him, her eyes full of a gentle warmth. Saraphina nodded slightly to the rhythm of the song, humming the melody softly. From his performance of Iris during orientation to this song now, she had always admired his singing. As someone with formal vocal training, she could pick out a few minor issues in his voice, but those small flaws didn't detract from how good he sounded. A diamond in the rough. Only Damien was baffled. Why? If Leo was going to play the guitar, wasn't he singing a love song to move Julianne? The pampered billionaire couldn't understand that. For someone like Julianne, this kind of humorous, idealistic song was far more moving than some cheesy ballad. Because she, like Leo, was also a dreamer. The song ended. Leo stood up and gave a deep bow to the audience. There wasn't a thunderous, deafening applause like in a novel. Most of the audience was still lost in the music. And that, in itself, was proof. A truly good song makes people want to listen quietly, to sink into it. Sometimes, the audience has a harder time leaving the world of the song than the singer himself. Leo tried not to look nervous, keeping his voice steady and calm. It's been a while since I sang that. I almost forgot the lyrics. Sorry if it wasn't very good. Only then did the quiet audience begin to stir. That was amazing. You're not bad at all. You have a great voice. Uncle. Hey, handsome, you got a girlfriend. One more song. Loved it. Leo's face flushed. Thank you for the kind words. I should probably get down now. He hadn't even finished his sentence when the female host rushed back onto the stage and whispered something in his ear. Dude, we have a situation. The senior from the music department, who's headlining, has a stomachache. Her final performance has to be delayed. Do you think you could play one more? Wait, what? Seriously? Leo never thought that all the plot holes he'd dug in his novel would be ones he'd fallen himself. Seeing the host's pleading eyes and hearing the enthusiastic cheers from the crowd, Leo hesitated for only a few seconds before nodding. Okay, but just one more, that's it. Okay, thank you so much. Hearing his agreement, the host's worried frown finally relaxed. She took the microphone and, feigning a casual air, said to the audience, Do you all want to hear another song from Leo Miller? The crowd roared, yes. I can't hear you. A little louder. Yes. Then let's give him a huge round of applause and keep him on stage for one more amazing song. Clap, clap, clap. The field erupted in applause. Say what you will, this host was a natural. The host handed the microphone back to Leo and walked off stage again. Leo gripped the mic. Thank you all so much. I never thought that one day someone as ordinary as me would have so many people like me wanting to hear me sing. So, I'd like to give you one more song. This one is called A Person Like Me. His voice trembled slightly. He had been nervous the whole time, but he had managed to get through one song. He thought it was over, but now he had to do another, and the anxiety was even harder to suppress. How could he not be nervous? Besides that one night at orientation, this was only the second time he had performed in front of a large crowd, and this time he was under a spotlight, with everyone staring at him. It was completely different from the dark, chaotic feel of orientation. A person as brilliant as me was supposed to live a life of glory. How did 20-something years go by, still lost and adrift in a sea of faces? A person as lonely as me, a person as foolish as me, a person who refuses to be ordinary. How many of us are there in this world? If the first song was a comedy hiding a tragedy, this one was steeped in sorrow and helplessness, his voice filled with confusion and loneliness. Julianne was completely captivated by his voice, the lyrics making her reflect on her own life. Saraphina wondered why a wealthy young master like Leo would be drawn to such melancholy songs. Only Damien was still hung up on why Leo wasn't singing a love song to confess to Julianne. This guy, Damien thought, the universe is handing him the golden opportunity, and he's completely blowing it. Another song ended. Leo stood up again. The crowd erupted once more. This time, he heard one word repeated over and over. Amazing. Hearing their praise, he grew even more bashful. He lowered his head, his face red, looking like a completely different person from the one who bantered so easily with Julianne. In reality, he hadn't changed. He had always been that sensitive, fragile person. It was just this crappy, miserable life that had forced him to wear a mask of confidence and nonchalance to hide his vulnerability. Sometimes he wondered, if an ordinary loser like me really became the male lead of a novel, would the book be a total flop? After all, I have so many flaws, I'm so unlikable. Not like other protagonists who are invincible heroes. Leo took a moment to compose himself, then picked up the microphone again. Thank you, everyone. Even though when I step off this stage, I'll go back to being a nobody right now, thanks to every single one of you. You've made me feel like I'm not so ordinary after all. If you're like me and often feel lost, or sometimes feel like your life isn't going the way you want, don't be sad. What I mean is I want you to know that I feel the same way. We're all in this together. We're all just ordinary people. But don't give up just because you're ordinary or because things are tough. Every flower blooms in its own time, and you are always the main character of your own story. I think I'm getting a little emotional. I'm starting to ramble. Sorry. Thank you, everyone. Leo bowed once more to the audience, then turned and walked away. As he was leaving the stage, he heard someone shouting his name. Leo Miller. It was magical. The day had finally come when the timid boy who used to hide in his little room playing guitar would have his name shouted by a crowd. He was starting to like this world more and more. Leo Miller, how many more secrets are you hiding from me? That was the first thing Julianne said to him. She had been waiting at the side of the stage. Leo feigned composure. What secrets? It's perfectly reasonable for a young master like me to know how to play an instrument, isn't it? Then, why didn't you say so before? Julianne's foxy eyes bored into his. You lied to me during orientation and said you couldn't sing. I can't sing. Compared to a professional like Saraphina, my knowledge of music is non-existent. Leo turned to Saraphina, who was standing beside them. Right, Saraphina? My singing just now was pretty average. No. Saraphina waved her hands. Actually, it was very good. A lot of people with training don't even. Before Saraphina could finish her assessment of his singing, Julianne held up a hand, cutting her off. Wait a minute. Julianne had latched onto a key detail in Leo's sentence. How do you know Saraphina has studied music? I didn't even know that. Hey, hearing this, Saraphina also realized the issue. Yeah, how did you know I've had training? Damien, ever a step behind, chimed in who studied music. In all this time, Saraphina had never had a chance to showcase her musical talents. For Leo, to suddenly call her a professional seemed a bit out of place. Wait, Leo suddenly remembered that Saraphina had posted a picture of herself playing the piano on her social media feed. With that thought, his panic vanished. He stood up straighter, no longer avoiding Julianne's gaze. Have you all forgotten? That picture Saraphina posted of her playing the piano? Didn't the three of you like it? The fact she can play the piano obviously means she's studied music. Oh, that's right. I did post a picture of me at the piano, Saraphina nodded. You have a really good memory, Leo, to still remember that. Julianne and Damien recalled the post as well and nodded in agreement. Of course, having successfully covered his tracks, Leo let out a silent sigh of relief. Julianne looked like she wanted to press him further, but Leo didn't give her the chance. He pointed to the senior from the music department who was now walking on stage. Quick, the headliner is on. Let's watch the show. With the topic successfully changed, Saraphina and Damien turned their attention back to the stage. Julianne, the question machine, saw that everyone else was focused on the performance and obediently kept quiet. In his book, Leo had never written what song the music major was supposed to sing because she never got the chance to perform. But this time, thanks to Leo stalling for time, she made it to the stage. After a few pop songs, the senior closed her set with Natasha Bedingfield's Unwritten. This was the first time Leo had heard the song. The senior's professional performance earned a huge round of applause from the audience, but couldn't quite outshine the brilliance of the performer who came before her. Leo's two songs, along with his heartfelt speech, had resonated more deeply with the crowd. Who knows what they would think when they found out that this ordinary person was actually the son of a school board director. After the concert, the students began to leave the field. Leo's group started to follow the crowd, but was stopped in their tracks. Blocking their path were none other than the headlining music major and the female host from earlier. Seeing the two seniors approach Leo, A flicker of hostility that she herself didn't recognize appeared in Julianne's eyes. The music major began tonight. She had just started speaking when Leo held up a hand. No need to thank me, really. He had already written this scene. He didn't want to hear it again. The senior smiled. All right, well, thank you. I'll skip the pleasantries then. Don't mention it, Leo said, waving his hand. We should get going. Hey, wait a minute, freshman, the senior quickly said as Leo started to leave. Actually, my friend Chloe and I are the president and vice president of the Student Events Committee. We wanted to invite you to join. Before she could finish, Leo cut her off again. I'm not interested in student government. I'm usually pretty busy. Oh well. The senior was momentarily speechless. The host, Chloe, immediately stepped in. I'm Chloe, and she's Jessica. We're juniors. You all must be freshmen, right? You should take our contact info. If you ever need anything around campus, you could just contact your upperclassmen. Chloe was clearly a seasoned pro. She spoke much more smoothly than Jessica, deliberately downplaying her objective and framing it as a way to help out underclassmen. She also wasn't just asking for Leo's contact info, but everyone's, which avoided any potential awkwardness while still ensuring she could get in touch with him later. Even if Leo refused, if just one of the others agreed, she'd have a way to reach him. Most people, hearing Chloe's flawless pitch, would have given her their number. After all, who would be rude to a pretty, smart girl? It was no wonder the school had chosen her to host such an important event. She was good, but she had just run into Julianne, and Julianne didn't play by those rules. Julianne smiled sweetly at Chloe. Sorry, seniors, but we're not actually students here. We were just invited to hang out for the night. We have to go now. Bye. Wait, huh? What? Before Chloe could say another word to stop her, Julianne had grabbed Leo and Saraphina and disappeared into the crowd, leaving Damien as the sole casualty of her escape plan. It wasn't that she didn't want to grab Damien, she just didn't have a third hand. Damien looked at the three retreating figures, gave the two seniors an awkward smile, and then bolted after them. Chloe and Jessica looked at each other with exasperated smiles. Jessica said, "What a shame. Such a promising talent, and we couldn't get him for the committee." Chloe pursed her lips and smiled. It's fine. Recruitment hasn't even officially started yet. Maybe there will be other talented freshmen this year. Yeah, you're right, Jessica nodded. Chloe watched Damien run off, a thought seeming to occur to her. She opened her mouth as if to say something, then hesitated. Seeing her expression, Jessica asked, "What is it? What were you going to say?" Chloe frowned. "That guy. I think he's Damien Sterling? Yes, that has to be him. The special performance tonight was arranged by him for his friend." Jessica's eyes widened in surprise. So that means Leo Miller isn't some ordinary person either. No wonder he wasn't interested in joining the student committee. Once she had dragged the two of them out of the main field, Julianne finally slowed down. Damien caught up a moment later, panting, "That was so not cool. You guys just took off without me." "She's the one who dragged me," Leo said, pointing at Julianne and shrugging. "Don't blame me." Saraphina looked at Julianne, confused. "Jules, those two seniors didn't seem like bad people. What's the harm in adding their contact info? Why do we have to run?" Julianne replied immediately. They definitely had other motives. "Saraphina, you're too naive. You could easily get tricked like that." Saraphina blinked. "Really? Of course it's true. You have to trust me." It was of course a lie. Julianne was just annoyed seeing those two girls showing interest in Leo. Even though she knew they probably just wanted to recruit him for a club, not hit on him, she couldn't help it. Seeing them approach Leo, she had felt a strange, inexplicable feeling. A sour, acidic feeling. It was very strange. After her talk with Saraphina, Julianne turned to Leo and glared at him. "You two, you hear me?" "Huh?" Leo looked at her, bewildered. "What does this have to do with me?" Julianne pointed at him. "Those two girls were targeting you, didn't you notice?" "I know." Leo nodded, staring into her eyes. "They were targeting me, but why are you reacting so strongly?" "I'm reacting strongly?" Julianne pointed at her own face, looking at Leo in disbelief. "Who's reacting strongly? I couldn't care less about you. When those two seniors stopped you, you were probably ecstatic, weren't you? When they asked for your contact info, you were probably gloating inside." "What? I wasn't thinking that at all. Why? Why would you say that?" Leo was completely lost. He hadn't done anything to provoke her today. Why was she suddenly so angry? In truth, even Julianne didn't know why her reaction was so intense. She was normally such a calm and rational person, but ever since meeting Leo, she had become increasingly irrational. Julianne struggled to calm the strange emotions swirling inside her. Her tone softened slightly. "I'm not trying to control you. If you want to join the student committee, I'm not stopping you." Leo replied instantly. "I already said I'm not joining. and I had no intention of giving them my contact info. Really? Of course. Even if Julian hadn't intervened, he wouldn't have given his number to those seniors. This school was practically his family's property. Was he really going to let someone bully him in his own house? And even if he was bullied, he wouldn't be so pathetic as to need two girls to help him out. Hearing Leo's answer, Julianne's heart suddenly felt lighter. Well, all right then. She suppressed a smile, patting Leo on the shoulder and changing the subject. I forgot to say it when you came off stage, but both songs you sang tonight were amazing. Huh. Seeing her mood change faster than flipping a page, Leo was completely bewildered. He leaned closer to her, frowning as he studied her face. You're acting really weird today. Am I? It's probably just your imagination. Seeing Leo's face getting closer and closer, Julianne's heart began to race. She took a step back, her face flushing as she pushed him away. Don't stand so close when you're talking to a girl. It's rude. With that, Julianne turned, grabbed the hand of Saraphina, who had been standing in the background, and said, Saraphina, let's go. Huh, okay. Though still a bit confused, Saraphina nodded and followed Julianne. Leo stood there, dumbfounded, watching them walk away, still trying to figure out what had just happened. Damien, who had also been relegated to the background, walked over to him. Miller, do you know why Julianne was being so difficult tonight? Why? Leo glanced at him. Damien pointed at Leo's face. Because your performance tonight was terrible. My performance was terrible. Leo turned to look at Damien. What do you mean, my performance was terrible? Damien analyzed the situation with a serious expression. Girls love sappy love songs. But neither of the two songs you sang tonight was a love song. That's why Julianne has been picking on you ever since you got off stage. Get it? But Julianne just told me I was a good singer. Being a good singer and singing songs she wants to hear are two completely different things. Okay? Hey, that actually makes sense. Leo nodded, taking Damien's words to heart. So, you know what you need to do next, right? What do I do? You have to make it up to her, obviously. Take her out to dinner or something. Once she's in a good mood, she'll forget all about it. Right, good point. It was a classic case of one person giving terrible advice and another being clueless enough to believe it. I'll text her right now, Leo said, pulling out his phone to compose a message to Julianne. Meanwhile, as Julianne and Saraphina were nearing the girls' dormitory, Julianne glanced back and saw that Leo wasn't following them. She breathed a sigh of relief. She could feel how strange her behavior had been tonight, especially after those two seniors showed up. She had almost lost control of her emotions. Saraphina looked at her friend. Jules, what's wrong with you tonight? I don't know, Julianne said, shaking her head. She thought for a moment, then turned to Saraphina. Saraphina, can I ask you something? Of course, Saraphina nodded. Have you ever been in a situation where, when you're with a certain person, it's like a second personality takes over? Because they're there, you can't control your emotions. You know you're a rational person, but when you're with them, you become less rational. Their every word affects you. Hearing Julianne's words, an image of Damien immediately popped into Saraphina's mind. She remembered Saturday, riding bikes with him, eating tacos, laughing wildly on the beach. She nodded at Julianne. Yes. Really? Julianne's eyes lit up. Then, do you know why that is? I think, Saraphina said, choosing her words carefully, it's probably because you're starting to like that person. Saraphina said this because she had realized that she herself was starting to like Damien. But when Julianne heard her words, her eyes went wide, and she exclaimed, Impossible! Absolutely impossible! Just as she was vehemently denying it, her phone buzzed with a new message. Leo, let me take you to dinner tomorrow night. Leo sent the text to Julianne, but she didn't reply right away. He figured she was probably on her way back to her dorm and wasn't looking at her phone. He pocketed his own, ready to head back to the suite with Damien. Sterling, let's ding. Before Leo could finish, his phone chimed. It wasn't Julianne's custom notification sound, just a generic alert for a text message, but he still whipped it out of his pocket. It wasn't her, just a package notification. A package? When did I order something? Leo stared at the pickup code, confused for a second before it hit him. A couple of days ago, he'd ordered a refurbished laptop and a set of accessories for Julianne. Some of it was starting to arrive. He'd even planned on asking for her birthday when he went to her place for dinner on Saturday, thinking he could give it to her as a birthday gift. But in the chaos of everything, he'd completely forgotten. What's up? Not heading back? Damien asked, noticing Leo had stopped dead in his tracks. Hey, let me ask you something, Leo said, rubbing his chin. How do you figure out someone's birthday without being obvious about it? Damien's eyes lit up with understanding. You want to do something for Julianne Hale's birthday? Something like that, Leo nodded. I want to give her something, but I need a good excuse. Damien shoved his hands in his pockets. She's in our class, right? Finding her birthday is easy. Just look at the student roster. Oh, right. Leo's face brightened. Sterling, since when did your brain start working again? Screw you. Damien's expression darkened. When has my brain ever not worked? You're the one with the broken brain. Leo ignored the jab and pulled up his messaging app to text their academic advisor. Leo was the class president in name only. Mr. Chase handled all the actual administrative work. If you wanted to see Julianne's file, you had to go through him. Chase was quick. A few moments after Leo sent the text, a document file appeared in his inbox. Leo scrolled down until he found her name and glanced at her student ID information. DOB 09/16 September 16 th. Leo froze, staring at the numbers. His own birthday was September 17 th. Hers was the day before his. What is it? Damien leaned over, curious about Leo's sudden silence. Whoa, September 16th, he noted, looking at the screen. That's some bad timing. September's almost over. Damien's voice snapped Leo out of his trance. Looks like the birthday gift angle is a bust, he said. Are there any other gift-giving holidays coming up? Damien thought for a moment. Thanksgiving. Leo shook his head. Thanksgiving isn't Valentine's Day. Who gives gifts on Thanksgiving unless you're bringing a bottle of wine to dinner? Miller, Damien said, a slow, scheming grin spreading across his face. We could think outside the box here. Outside the box. Leo turned to him. What do you mean? You ever hear that business philosophy? Damien's grin widened. If the market has no demand, we create it. You're saying, I create the opportunity myself. Leo's eyes lit up as Damien's words sank in. Holy crap, that's brilliant. Leo had to admit, Damien had his moments of genius. It was just that, probably due to his character programming, his IQ seemed to get cut in half whenever Saraphina Rose was around. He decided to leave the packages at the mail center for now and pick everything up once it had all arrived. As he and Damien walked back to their suite, they brainstormed the logistics of creating an opportunity to give a gift. What if, Leo proposed, I accidentally break her phone and then offer to replace it, along with a new laptop, as an apology? Definitely not. Damien shot back immediately. You break her phone, you replace her phone. Throwing in a laptop just screams, I have an ulterior motive. Julianne's not stupid. She'd see right through that. Yeah, you're right. Leo paused. Okay, then how do I get a laptop, mouse, and keyboard to her without it being weird? If you ask me, Damien said, you should return the refurbished one and get her a brand new one. Leo was confused. She wouldn't even accept a used one. Why would I buy a new one? Are you an idiot? Damien gave him a look. With a new one, you could set up a fake raffle. Find a venue, run a bogus prize drawing, and make her the winner. The grand prize is an ultimate tech bundle. You could even throw the new phone in there. With your resources, pulling that off would be easy. A light bulb went off over Leo's head. He slapped his forehead. Of course. Why didn't I think of that? Sterling, you're a freaking genius. Naturally, the praise went straight to Damien's head, and he puffed out his chest. I've been handling my family's corporate affairs since I was a kid. These little tricks are child's play. Then I don't get it, Leo said, narrowing his eyes at Damien. If you're so full of these brilliant schemes, why do you always come running to me for advice when it comes to Saraphina? Ahem. Damien cleared his throat. I don't know. It's like when I'm with her, my mind just goes completely blank. You know that feeling? Leo shook his head, deadpan. No, not even with Julianne. Damien pressed. No. Leo shook his head again, though this time he hesitated for a fraction of a second. Damien was at a loss for words. Well, that can only mean one thing. And what's that? It means you haven't completely fallen for Julianne Hale yet. Whoa. Leo's eyes went wide. Why would I fall for her? We're just good friends. It's totally platonic, okay. Keep telling yourself that, Damien said with a smirk, flashing that signature alpha billionaire grin. Your eyes don't lie. Ugh. The sight of Damien's smirk made Leo's skin crawl. Bees easy, bees easy. His phone vibrated again. This time it was really her. Julianne, okay. Where are we eating? The truth was, Julianne had seen Leo's message a while ago. She just didn't know how to respond. Of course, she was happy to go to dinner with him, but when she thought about it, he had already spent so much money on her. She really didn't want to be in his debt any further. He might have joked about taking care of her, but that was just banter between friends. She couldn't possibly take it seriously. She just didn't want to owe him anything more. Lying in bed, she tossed and turned, unable to figure out what to say. An image of Leo flickered in her mind. Him on stage tonight, singing his heart out. How many more secrets are you hiding? Leo, why are you so different? Should I even let myself get closer to you? Julianne could lie to anyone, but she couldn't lie to herself. She knew her feelings for Leo were anything but platonic. She developed a genuine crush on the boy who had crashed into her life. Logically, she knew she had to be rational to stay calm. She barely knew anything about him, and the chasm between their social classes was immense. They could never have a real future. But feelings weren't a novel you could just stop writing. Staring up at the canopy of her bed, Julianne felt lost. After a few more minutes of agonizing, a brilliant, devious idea sparked in her mind. I'll get him drunk and pry his secrets out of him. They always say a drunk mind speaks a sober heart. If Leo wouldn't tell her anything willingly, she'd just have to liquor him up at dinner tomorrow and get him to spill everything. Most importantly, she had to find out how he really felt about her. With that thought, her path became clear. She grabbed her phone and shot back a reply. Julianne, okay, where are we eating? Leo saw her question and, after a moment's thought, typed back. Leo, you have any recommendations? The question played right in her hands. Julianne, I know this amazing food truck park. I'll take you tomorrow night. Leo assumed she was trying to save him money. Leo, food trucks? Come on, you're with me now. You think I let you eat so poorly? I'm taking you to a 5-star hotel. Julianne, didn't you just ask me what I wanted to eat? I said I want to go to a food truck park, and now you're talking about hotels? Leo, fine. If you want food trucks, we'll do food trucks. Leo, but don't blame me later when I don't take you somewhere nice. This was your choice. Julianne, don't be silly. Julianne, the great Leo Miller is treating me to dinner. I couldn't be happier. Why would I ever blame you? Her reply brought a satisfied smile to Leo's face. What they ate didn't matter. What mattered was that she had accepted his invitation. Now, he just had to figure out how to give her the laptop and the new phone. He had already processed the return for the used laptop online. He'd just buy a new Ultrabook from the university concourse tomorrow morning and pick up the keyboard and mouse that had already arrived from the mail center. He'd almost forgotten that the whole point of this dinner, instigated by Damien, was simply to get Julianne to stop being mad at him. But Damien's initial analysis had been completely wrong. Julianne wasn't mad at all. In fact, she had loved the 2 songs he sang. Her hot and cold attitude was just garden-variety jealousy. The next morning, Leo woke up early, even though he didn't have an 8 a.m. class. After getting ready, he headed straight for the university concourse. He grabbed a bagel and coffee at a cafe, then went to the electronics store and picked out a sleek new Ultrabook that cost just over $1,000. The salesman launched into a flowery pitch about its high performance and suitability for graphic design, but Leo wasn't listening. He just swiped his card and paid. Seeing how decisive he was, the salesman threw in a bunch of free accessories. Leo, a firm believer in the principle of never turn down a freebie, took them all. Laptop secured, he went next door to the Apple store and bought the latest iPhone, grabbing a pair of AirPods while he was at it. After that, he stopped by a gift shop for a large gift box, then swung by the campus mail center to pick up the keyboard and mouse he'd ordered. Whoa! Damien opened his bedroom door to see Leo on the living room floor, carefully arranging items in the gift box. Miller, you move fast. Got everything already? Yeah, got an early start. Good luck, man. Damien gave him a pat on the shoulder, then turned to go back into his room. Hey, don't run off so fast. Give me a hand with this. But Damien didn't hear him. His mind was already elsewhere. Miller is going to all this trouble to win over Julianne, he thought. Maybe I should get something for Saraphina, too. But what's the problem? She doesn't seem to need anything. Her phone is fine. She has a laptop. And even though her family isn't wealthy, she never acts like she's lacking anything. This is harder than I thought. Lost in thought, Damien closed his bedroom door, completely oblivious to Leo calling for him from the living room. Leo figured he was just pretending not to hear. Jerk, he muttered with a wry smile. Ask for a little help, and he runs for the hills. It didn't matter. He was almost done packing anyway. Once everything was nestled inside, he closed the lid. After some thought last night, he decided to stage the giveaway in the main hall of a high-end shopping mall. He'd invent some anniversary event, hire a bunch of actors to be fellow customers who all failed to win, and then he'd bring Julianne in for the grand prize. The plan was flawless. He'd even contacted the mall, one of the premier luxury shopping centers in the heart of Ethelberg's Central Business District. Actually, contacted wasn't the right word. The mall belonged to his family. When a young master wanted to do something, the staff was more than happy to cooperate. A courier would pick up the gift from campus later that afternoon and deliver it to the mall. All Leo had to do was get Julianne there after class. Leaning back on the sofa, Leo reviewed the plan in his head. Perfect, he said to the empty room. So, we leave right after this class. Leo whispered, leaning back against the edge of the desk behind him. Julianne leaned forward from her seat. We have 2 classes this afternoon, so we'll be done a little after 3, she whispered back. Dinner isn't until tonight. Why are we leaving so early? I need to buy some new clothes, Leo replied instantly. It was the excuse he'd cooked up to lure her to the mall. Don't they sell clothes at the university concourse? She asked. The clothes at the concourse are beneath my notice, he said with an air of mock superiority. Fine, we get it, you're fancy. Julianne rolled her eyes at the back of his head. She thought he couldn't see, but he spoke again. Don't think I don't know you're rolling your eyes back there. Humph, she grunted. How'd you know? Leo tilted his head slightly, catching her in his peripheral vision. Please, I can picture your expression from your tone alone. Oh, you're so amazing, big brother, Julianne cooed, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Even without seeing her face, Leo could perfectly imagine her smug, teasing expression. He just pursed his lips and didn't bother reply. A moment later, she poked him in the back with the tip of her pen. I need to go back to the dorm and change before we go out. Why, he asked. Because if we're going shopping, I have to dress up a little, obviously. If they were just going to a food truck for dinner, she wouldn't have bothered. But now that he was taking her shopping, she couldn't just go in her casual class clothes. She would never admit that to him, of course. He'd think she was putting in extra effort for their outing, which she totally was. Instead, she replied with feigned impatience. Why do you ask so many questions? Huh? Leo thought. Damien was right. She's definitely still mad at me. Is she really this upset that I didn't sing the song she liked? Damien, in his attempt to help Leo, had inadvertently misled him. Now Leo was convinced her moodiness was all about the concert, when in reality, she wasn't mad at all. After their afternoon classes ended, Julianne headed back to her dorm. Leo considered waiting for her outside, but then he remembered that for girls, changing clothes could be a multi-hour production, especially if makeup was involved. He wisely decided to go back to his own suite and lie down. Damien wasn't there. Leo figured he was off somewhere with Saraphina Rose, probably hiding in some quiet corner of campus. He was half right. Damien and Saraphina were sitting by the campus lake, but they weren't alone. Zoe Zhang was there too, sticking to them like glue. Finally fed up, Damien found a polite excuse to send Zoe away. With nowhere else to go, Zoe decided to head back to the dorm. Inside their suite, only Julianne and Stacy's son were present. Stacy watched Julianne, who had changed clothes and was now applying makeup at her desk. Jules, you going out? She asked, walking over curiously. Julianne offered a polite smile and nodded. Yeah, I have something to do. Where are you going? I'll come with you, Stacy offered, already planning to tag along. This put Julianne in a tough spot. She was meeting Leo for dinner. Bringing Stacy along as a third was out of the question. More importantly, she had a plan to get Leo drunk, and Stacy's presence would ruin everything. Stacy, it's not really a good time today, she said tactfully. I'm meeting someone. Is it Saraphina? Stacy pressed, not giving up. If it's Saraphina, I'm sure she wouldn't mind if I came. Julianne shook her head. It's someone else. Okay, fine. Seeing that Julianne clearly didn't want her to come, Stacy wisely dropped the subject. As Julianne finished her makeup, she sent Leo a quick text. He replied with an OK sticker, slipped on his shoes, and left his suite. He waited outside the women's dorm for about 4 minutes before Julianne came down. For someone who had spent over an hour changing, her outfit hadn't changed much. She still wore a white graphic tee, though the print was different, and had swapped her black pants for a pair of loose, straight-leg gray jeans. Her black sneakers were now white. Her whole black, white, and gray aesthetic was a throwback to his own broke days. She has such amazing legs, but she never wears skirts or shorts. What a waste, he thought as she got into the car. It was rare for Julianne to wear makeup. It made her foxy eyes look even more captivating. The foundation and delicate eye makeup slightly muted the teardrop mole at the corner of her left eye, and her rosy lips made him feel an impulse to kiss them. My makeup doesn't look great, does it? She asked, flustered by his intense gaze. I don't really wear it much. Saraphina had to teach me. She wasn't playing the ditzy damsel to get his sympathy. She genuinely hadn't worn makeup before. She couldn't afford it. The only skincare product she'd ever used before college was a $10 bottle of face cream. The makeup she was wearing today was borrowed from Saraphina. Only the muted lipstick was her own. No, it's beautiful, Leo said with a small smile. It's a whole new look. Is it that different from when I'm not wearing it? She asked immediately. No, you look great either way, he said, then added, but honestly, I prefer you without it. Julianne was secretly ecstatic, but she played it cool. Well, after all this time, you finally said something I like to hear. Leo just smiled and started the car, pulling away from the curb. Upstairs, Stacy stood by the window, watching Julianne get into Leo's car. A seed of suspicion began to sprout in her mind. Meanwhile, Zoe, on her way back to the dorm, also saw Julianne in the passenger seat of Leo's car. She frowned, a sense of unease creeping over her. Full of doubt, Zoe returned to the suite. She exchanged a look with Stacy before climbing onto her bed and pulling the curtains shut. "Why did you dress like that the other day?" The tense silence in the dorm was finally broken by Stacy, her tone accusatory. "I should be asking you the same thing." Zoe shot back from behind her curtain, her voice just as sharp. "Why did you dress like that to throw yourself at the class president?" It was the first real conversation they'd had since their fight that morning. "What do you mean, throw myself?" Stacy snapped. "I was just showing off my figure for a guy I like. It was perfectly normal." "Normal? Please," Zoe scoffed. "You were dressed like a streetwalker, and you have the nerve to call it normal. Why didn't you just strip naked and offer yourself to him?" "What the hell did you just say, Zoe?" Enraged, Stacy ripped open Zoe's curtain and pointed a finger in her face. "You want to go again? Is that it? You were dressed like a rotisserie chicken yourself. So who are you to judge me?" Zoe slapped her hand away. "Who are you calling a rotisserie chicken?" "I'm calling you one. What about it?" Stacy stood with her hands on her hips, indignant. "Yeah, that's right. I listened to Julianne's advice and dressed a little provocatively to get his attention. So what was your deal, deliberately trying to one-up me?" Zoe was about to fire back another insult, but she stopped herself. "Wait, you're saying it was Julianne's idea for you to wear that crop top and short shorts?" "Duh." Stacy's brow furrowed as she started to connect the dots. "Don't tell me. The way you were dressed that day had something to do with her, too." Zoe fell silent for a moment, then nodded grimly. "I just saw her get into Leo's sports car." "I saw it too," Stacy said. "She was in here putting on makeup and changing clothes." "You don't think?" "She likes him too, so she deliberately set us against each other." Zoe ventured. Stacy nodded. "No wonder she was being so nice. That bitch." The two of them locked eyes, the animosity between them vanishing in an instant. They now had a common enemy. Leo drove his flashy Koenigsegg with Julianne to Ethelberg's most exclusive central business district. In the distance, two towering skyscrapers bearing a massive SG logo, Sterling Group headquarters, pierced the clouds. He pulled up right in front of the entrance to a luxurious shopping mall and tossed his keys to the valet. Julianne shuffled closer to him. "Is it really okay to just park in front of the main entrance like this?" she whispered. "I could park it in the middle of the lobby and no one would say a word," he thought. "This whole place is ours." But he just smiled at her and said, "It's fine. At high-end places like this, the valets take care of it." "Oh, okay." She didn't know any better, so she just followed him quietly inside. It was her first time in a place like this, and she was a little nervous, her big, beautiful eyes darting around, taking in all the storefronts. She'd been to the city's core before, but she'd only ever admired these towering buildings from the outside. The few times she had gone in, it was just to use the restroom before leaving. She couldn't afford a single thing in here. Besides a few recognizable luxury logos, most of the stores had English names she didn't recognize. The mall was strangely empty, almost deserted. What she didn't know was that the few scattered shoppers she saw were all actors hired by Leo. The mall was closed to the public for the afternoon. "Why are there so few people here?" Julianne asked. "Top-tier malls are always like this," Leo said after a moment. "Oh," she nodded. "Can a place this empty actually make money?" Leo chuckled. "Why are you worried about that?" "Thinking of opening a shop here." "Haha, sure," she joked. "If you sponsor me, Mr. Big Shot, I'll open a bookstore right here. We'll specialize in physical copies of novels. You'd probably lose the shirt off your back. The rent for the smallest shop in here is over $10 million a year." "What?" she gasped. She knew it would be expensive, but not that expensive. $10 million a year was over $800,000 a month, almost $30,000 a day. In this economy, it was hard enough to make $30,000 a month selling books, let alone in a single day. She immediately waved her hands and shook her head. "Nope, never mind. That kind of business is not for a poor girl like me." "Huh." Her frantic head shaking was adorable. He laughed and led her into a clothing boutique. A stunningly elegant sales associate greeted them with a smile and escorted them to a private lounge inside the store. "Who will be shopping today?" the associate asked. "I need a couple of winter outfits," Leo said, pointing to several new arrivals on a tablet. "I'd like to see these." "Sir, those particular new arrivals require a certain purchase history." Before the associate could finish, Leo produced a sleek, exclusive-looking membership card. Her eyes flicked to the card, and she immediately understood. She gave him a knowing look, shut her mouth, and quietly left the room. Julianne sat on the sofa, a million questions swirling in her head. Why are we sitting in a private lounge to buy clothes? What was that card he showed her? But she didn't ask. She was afraid her questions would make her sound stupid and uncultured. A few minutes later, the associate returned, followed by two men with the same height and build as Leo. They were wearing the two winter outfits he had selected. Leo sized them up, then pointed to the pants on the man to his left. Not those pants. Box up everything else and have it sent to the Royal Academy. Of course, Mr. Miller, the associate said with a nod. We also have some new arrivals in our women's collection. Would the young lady like to take a look? Wanted to get you a couple of things, Leo asked, turning to Julianne. She was still in a daze, completely floored by this new discovery. Rich people didn't even have to try on clothes. Huh, she snapped back to reality. What did you just say? He repeated his offer. No, absolutely not, she said, waving her hands frantically. I can't accept that. I'd owe you another huge favor. Haha, Leo smiled. He had expected her to refuse. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to all this trouble with a fake raffle. Suit yourself. That'll be all, then. You can run the card. Right away, Mr. Miller. After processing the payment, the associate returned, half kneeling as she handed the card back to Leo. She also presented him with a silver-white card. We're running a promotion today, sir, she said. Spend over $30,000 and you get a chance at our prize drawing. The grand prize is a tech bundle worth over $2,000. The drawing is in the main lobby on the first floor. Julianne was stunned again. Those two outfits cost $30,000. Are they made of gold? That's highway robbery. Leo waved a dismissive hand. Not interested. You can throw it away. Hey, don't throw it away. Julianne piped up immediately. Let's go try. It's free, right? Fine, then it's yours. Seeing her take the bait, Leo immediately handed her the card. As they left the store, he shot a satisfied smile back at the sales associate. Julianne stared at the silver raffle ticket in her hand, then looked at Leo. Something felt off. Why are you staring at me? Leo asked. He was, in fact, feeling a little guilty, and her stare made him instantly nervous. She held up the small card. Do you rich people always get stuff like this when you buy clothes? Sometimes, he said, launching into the explanation he had prepared. It just depends on whether the mall is running a promotion. It's probably because of the upcoming holiday weekend, so they're doing a spend and win event. I usually turn this stuff down, though. The prizes are usually cheap trinkets, useless to me. The explanation was plausible. Too plausible. It sounded rehearsed. Normally, Leo would have just shot back with a curt, how should I know? Why are you asking me? But this time, he was being unusually thorough. Still, she couldn't find a concrete reason to doubt him. After all, he hadn't wanted the ticket. She was the one who had snatched it up. She decided to dismiss her suspicions. If she had just thought about it a little more calmly, she would have realized the absurdity of it all. In a mall this exclusive, a raffle ticket you only get after spending $30,000 having a grand prize of a mere $2,000 laptop bundle? It made no sense whatsoever. It was a detail Leo himself had overlooked when designing his elaborate plan. Are you buying anything else? She asked. Leo glanced at his watch. It's still early. Let's look around a bit more. He had to commit to the performance. If he went straight to the raffle after buying one thing, his motive would be too obvious. Okay, it wasn't even 5 p.m. yet. The food truck park she had in mind would just be setting up. He browsed a bespoke shoe store and ordered a pair of leather shoes. Then he went next door and bought a wallet. While there, he decided to get one for Julianne too. Since a direct gift was out, he decided to use the same trick, giving the sales associate a subtle nod. The associate was sharp. After Leo paid for a trifold wallet and a men's crossbody bag, she immediately presented a women's wallet, explaining it was a complimentary gift for customers who spent over $50,000. Leo took the wallet and glanced at it before turning to Julianne. It's a woman's wallet. I can't use it. You want it? Even as a free gift? Julianne shook her head. No, I can't. You should keep it and give it to your mother. My mother wouldn't even look at a freebie made with this level of craftsmanship. Seeing her refusal, Leo made a show of moving to toss it into a nearby trash can. Hey, what are you doing? Julianne quickly reached out to stop him. If you don't want it, what am I supposed to do with it? It's trash. He'd been about to say, trash belongs in the trash can, but that sounded a little too much like Damien Sterling. The thought was fine, but saying it out loud would be too cringy. As he spoke, he flicked his wrist, and the wallet flew toward the bin. Just before it landed, Julianne caught it. If you're just going to throw it away, you might as well give it to me. It's brand new. What a waste, she said, stuffing the wallet into her pocket. Leo watched her, hiding a smile. The tactic worked. He mentally filed it away for future gift-giving. As they left the store, Julianne didn't seem particularly happy. She walked with her head down and asked quietly, me stopping you from throwing that away, and then stuffing it in my pocket in front of the clerk. Was that embarrassing for you? Her question caught him off guard. Why would you say that? When we left, you had this grim look on your face, like you were unhappy. She said softly, sneaking a glance at him. Was it because I picked up something you didn't want, and it made you lose face in front of the staff? Her words transported him back in time. He remembered his mother, taking him to the supermarket as a child, sifting through the bin of bruised, discounted vegetables that no one else wanted. He was young and didn't understand. He'd felt so ashamed. His mother had asked him the same question then. Am I embarrassing you by picking up what others throw away? It was only when he was older that he understood. They'd been so poor back then. If not for her extreme frugality, they would have been starving. I'm sore, Julianne began, thinking his silence meant he was angry. You don't have to apologize, Leo cut her off. I'm not angry, and I don't think what you did was embarrassing at all. Being frugal is a good thing. He turned and gave her a small, reassuring smile. He had planned to use the same trick to give her more things, but now he saw it wouldn't work. His act of casually discarding expensive items didn't bring her joy, it just burdened her. Her heart was as sensitive and delicate as his had once been. He'd have to find another way. He looked over at her. The way she kept her head down was oddly endearing. He had the urge to reach out and pat her on the head, but he kept the thought to himself. Hey, she said suddenly, looking up at him. I think that clerk shortchanged us. Huh, he asked. What was missing? You spent 30 grand at the clothing store and got a raffle ticket, she said, looking at him intently. We just spent 50 grand here. Why didn't we get a raffle ticket? Leo's mind went blank. She really didn't miss a single detail. Seeing she was about to march back into the store, he quickly grabbed her arm. They already gave us the free wallet. That probably means they don't do the raffle tickets. Really? Yeah, it has to be. Every store is different, and the promotions change depending on how much you spend. Oh, okay. That makes sense, I guess. She nodded, her suspicions seemingly abetted. Leo breathed a silent sigh of relief. He'd only made one of those silver tickets. If she had gone back and asked for another, the clerk wouldn't have had one to give. They made their way to the prize-drawing booth in the main lobby. In the center of the stage sat a large gift box, filled with all the things Leo had bought for her that morning. A crowd of onlookers, all hired actors, was gathered around another person who was in the middle of drawing a prize. Julianne watched the crowd gathered around the raffle, all intently focused on a prize worth a couple of $1,000s. Something felt strange. Is this what rich people do for fun? She muttered to Leo. Stand around watching someone else win a prize? Leo realized his actors might be overdoing a little. People love a spectacle, he said, thinking on his feet. It's normal. Even rich people love to watch a show. I guess. Julianne nodded and, clutching her raffle ticket, walked with him toward the booth. The previous contestant walked away with a look of disappointment, holding a tiny perfume sample as a consolation prize. As Julianne approached, the female employee running the booth glanced from Leo to the ticket in Julianne's hand and smiled brightly. Are you two here for the prize drawing? She is, Leo said, gesturing to Julianne. Julianne handed over the ticket. One moment. The employee made a show of inspecting the ticket, then tore off a corner. She held out the prize box. Here you go, miss. Pick a ball. Julianne nudged Leo. I've had bad luck my whole life. Maybe you should do it. It's fine. I'll lend you my luck. You'll definitely win. Leo said. He touched his own head, then placed the same hand on Julianne's fluffy hair. There. All my luck is yours now. In reality, he just wanted an excuse to touch her hair. Fluffy wasn't the right word for a person, but her hair was incredibly soft and felt wonderful, like petting a small fox. Okay then, I'll borrow your luck to get rid of my bad juju, she said with mock seriousness, then reached into the box. She rummaged around for a long time, trying to use her intuition to pick the right one from the sea of plastic balls. What she didn't know was that every single ball in the box contained a slip of paper that said first prize. The only consolation prize slip had already been drawn by the actor before her. Finally, she pulled one out and handed it to Leo. I'm too scared to open it. You do it. Why are you being such a coward now? Leo chuckled at her reaction. He reached for the plastic ball, his fingers brushing against hers. For a fleeting moment, a spark of electricity passed between them. Their eyes met instinctively. Leo quickly looked down, pretending to be busy twisting the ball open. In his head, he was already rehearsing his surprised reaction for when she won. He opened the slip, the outcome of which he already knew. Julianne watched him with wide, expectant eyes. Well, what is it? Leo paused for dramatic effect, then handed her the slip of paper. See for yourself. Did I lose? She asked, seeing his hesitant expression. She took the paper. It's fine if I didn't win. It's not a big deal, it's the thought that. Wait, what's first prize? She glanced from the paper to the promotional poster behind the booth. First prize, the ultimate office tech bundle. Julianne stared blankly at the slip in her hand, then back at the poster. She did this several times, until she finally dared to believe it. She had won. She and Leo were both stunned. Leo's shock was an act, but hers was utterly real. She was frozen, unsure of what expression to make or how to move. From the day she was born, it felt like she'd been cursed. Nothing good ever happened to her. She was a magnet for misfortune. She was the kind of person who had never even seen a try again cap on a soda bottle. This was the first time in her life she had ever won anything, and it was the grand prize. Could it be? Did Leo really lend me his luck? She turned to look at him. It seemed that ever since she met Leo, her tragic life had become a little less tragic. He was like a ray of light that had pierced through the storm clouds to shine down on her. A light that was hers alone. Because of that light, her gray world was finally becoming bright. Leo, can you really lend me your luck? Were you sent from heaven to help me? In that moment, the gratitude in the young woman's heart eclipsed the excitement of winning. Her beautiful eyes, filled with deep emotion, were like clear autumn pools as she gazed at the young man. You won first prize? First prize. Leo grinned, breaking the silence. He noticed her strange look. What's wrong? Aren't you happy you won? I am. She smiled, a genuine, radiant smile. Thank you, Leo. Thank me for what? He tensed up, afraid she had figured it out. Thank you for lending me your luck, she said. I never would have won without it. It's not about luck. He shook his head, a wave of relief washing over him. Don't say that. You have to have confidence in yourself. You deserve good things, you know that. The line was something he used to tell himself back when he was at his lowest. It felt right to say it to her now. They went through the motions. Julianne went on stage to accept her prize, posing for a photo while holding the large box. It was too big to fit in Leo's Koenigsegg, so the employee had Julianne fill out a delivery form to have it sent to the university along with her clothes. As they left the mall, Julianne's steps were light, her face beaming with a rare, unadulterated happiness. Seeing her so happy made Leo feel good, too. But a seed of worry was planted in his mind. She was so happy now, believing she'd won by sheer luck. What would happen if she ever found out it was all a setup? Would she hate him? Come on, let's go. Julianne called out, turning back to him and breaking his train of thought. I'll worry about that later, he decided. He shook his head, clearing the anxious thoughts, and followed her. He started the car and headed for the food truck park she had told him about. Following Julianne's navigation, Leo drove his supercar to a sprawling college town on the outskirts of Ethelberg. In the novel, to emphasize its prestige, he had written the Royal Academy as the only university located in the city center. All the others were relegated to the suburbs. Out here, the areas around the universities were packed with food streets. The same food that cost a fortune downtown was half the price here, so plenty of city workers would come out to the college town for a cheap dinner before heading home. The place had the same vibrant, chaotic energy as Market Street back in the projects, and was full of the same kinds of hole-in-the-wall food stalls Leo knew so well. He remembered his own university days in his past life. Just outside the dorms, there was a food street the students affectionately called the Gut. Every night, the entire street would be shrouded in a fragrant haze of grilled meats and fried everything. You could smell it before you even left campus. Once you went in, you couldn't escape without spending at least $10 and gaining a few pounds. His favorite things were the $1 skewer fried pork tenderloin and the $2 grilled chicken legs. But he was so broke back then that he rarely treated himself. The buddy he had who'd gotten his heart broken used to treat him to chicken legs and pork skewers all the time, back before he became a total simp for that girl. After that, he was lucky to afford rice and vegetable soup for himself, let alone treat a friend. Come to think of it, he still owed that guy big time. A chance meeting over drinks is fate, but when the storm passes, where do we scatter? Now he finally had money, but it was too late to ever treat his friend to a meal again. Just as he was lost in thought, the savory aroma of grilled chicken hit him. He looked down and saw Julianne holding 2 chicken legs, fresh off the grill and steaming. The chicken from this stand is amazing. You have to try it, she said, pointing to a nearby stall as she handed one to him. Leo took a bite. The skin was crispy and charred, sealing in the juices, so the meat inside was incredibly tender and flavorful from the marinade. He stared at the half-eaten chicken leg, the familiar taste making him feel a little dazed. It's good, right? Julianne looked at him with a smile, eagerly awaiting his verdict. When a girl wants to share her favorite food with you and cares about your opinion, it means she truly considers you a good friend. Yeah, Leo nodded. It tastes a lot like the chicken from the food street outside my old high school. I love it. He'd almost said university, catching himself just in time. See? I told you it was good. Julianne was delighted with his answer. She beamed and handed him her other chicken leg. Since you like it so much, you can have this one too. No, you eat it, Leo said, waving it away. If I eat both, what will you have? If you eat both, you'll be too full for dinner later, she teased. Which means more for me. Her words made him laugh. If you can handle it, I'll buy out the entire menu for you tonight. I promise I won't take a single bite. Ha ha ha, I know you're loaded, mister. Big shot, she said with a laugh, shaking her head. I'm just kidding. Let's just hit a few things. No need to be wasteful. Okay. Leo nodded seriously at her lecture. Whatever Miss Julianne says goes. Oh, shut up, she said, rolling her eyes at his teasing. Yeesh, he muttered under his breath. So bossy. His voice was quiet, but she heard him. She made a fist. Keep talking, and you'll get a knuckle sandwich. Laughing and bickering, they made their way to the food stall Julianne had picked out. It had just opened, but was already packed. A woman, the owner, was going from table to table with menus while her husband prepped at the walk station. Julianne slid the menu over to Leo. You order. You pick the place. I've never been here, so I don't know what's good. You should order, he said, pushing it back to her. All right, fine. She took the menu. Any dietary restrictions? I don't eat people, he deadpanned. Everything else is fine. Oh, go to hell. She shot him a glare and tossed the notepad and pen at him. I'll call out the dishes, you write them down. Got it. He picked up the pen. Spicy shrimp, garlic clams, Nashville hot chicken sliders, and a side of greens. She looked at him. Got all that? Yep. He nodded. Anything else? She put the menu down. No, that should be enough. Just 4 things, he asked. There are 2 of us. For dishes is plenty, she said. But you can take a look if you want. Leo snatched the menu and, after a quick scan, added a beef brisket bowl and a pot of country-style fried chicken. Julianne looked at what he'd written and complimented him. Wow, your handwriting is really nice. But of course, he puffed out his chest proudly. He'd practiced calligraphy for years, even selling handwritten couplets at the market during the new year. After praising his penmanship, she shook her head. That's too much food. 6 dishes for 2 people will never finish it all. Then let's do this. Leo crossed out the side of greens. No veggies. Now it's only 5 dishes. Those are all huge dishes, she protested. We really can't finish them. So what if we can't? It's not like it's expensive. She narrowed her eyes at him. But you just promised me you wouldn't be wasteful. Going back on your word already. He waved his hand dismissively. It's fine. We'll get it to go. And you're going to take it home? She asked. Sure, why not? He nodded. Damien will probably like it. Julianne frowned. Are you sure a rich boy like Damien would eat food from a dive like this? Especially leftovers. That guy's been obsessed with hole-in-the-wall places lately. He'll love it. Besides, I just won't tell him they're leftovers, Leo said, remembering how Damien had taken Saraphina for those pungent tacos. A guy with his taste could definitely handle this. Look, don't worry about it. This is what I'm ordering. He waved the owner over. Hey, wait, we haven't ordered drinks yet, Julianne said, grabbing his arm. All right, I almost forgot. He picked up the menu again. What do you want to drink? How about? Julianne raised a single, elegant eyebrow. A mischievous glint appeared in her eyes, and the corner of her mouth curved into a subtle smile. We get some barley pop. Leo narrowed his eyes, studying her. You're too young to be getting into that stuff. Of course I'm getting into it, she thought. I'm going to get you wasted and pry all your secrets out of that stubborn mouth of yours. Let's see how tight-lipped you are after a few drinks. Hey. On the outside, she put on an innocent face. I've never tried it before. Have you? Leo scratched his head, looking a bit sheepish. Yeah, of course I have. But I'm a total lightweight. 1 drink of tequila, and I'm... Really? 1 drink, and you're out. Julianne muttered to herself before he could even finish his sentence. Perfect. What? He asked, looking at her confused. Nothing. I didn't say anything, she said quickly, waving her hands. Today, I'm celebrating my first ever win. I'm in a good mood. Let's have a drink together. Leo nodded. Okay, I'll order 1 beer. We can split it. Julianne started counting on her fingers, whispering, 1 bottle won't be enough. What if it doesn't work? Leo couldn't hear her clearly. What did you say? I said 1 bottle might not be enough. Why don't we order a few more? 2 then? 1 for each of us. How about? Julianne paused for a second. We start with a 6-pack. A what? Leo was floored. He thought she'd just want to have a celebratory drink, but a 6-pack didn't exactly scream a little sip. He shook his head. Let's not drink that much. We have to get back to campus. It's fine, let's drink. Julianne snatched the notepad and pen from his hand and scribbled down 1 6-pack of beer. What about my car if we drink? Leo asked. I'll call you an Uber to get it home, she replied without hesitation. You can't drive after drinking anyway. 1 drink or a whole case, it doesn't matter. Let's just drink. Her swift, prepared answers made him feel like she had this all planned out, but he couldn't prove it. The two of them had been scheming against each other all day, and neither one had a clue. Fine, fine. Whatever makes you happy, Leo said, not bothering to argue. After they gave the order to the owner, she brought over the six-pack and a complimentary plate of fried peanuts. Leo opened a bottle, poured a full pint glass for Julianne, and then another for himself. The glasses were large, so it took a little more than one bottle to fill both. He opened a second. Cheers, Julianne said, raising her glass to clink with his. Her movements were clumsy, a dead giveaway that this was her first time drinking. If it weren't for her grand plan to get him drunk, she would never have touched the stuff. The person she hated most in the world was her father, a gambling addict who would get drunk and violent after losing money. The smell of alcohol was the scent she despised most. Now, smelling it up close, she wrinkled her nose but closed her eyes and took a sip. Seeing her expression, Leo wanted to laugh. He remembered being just like her, repulsed by the smell of alcohol. It was only after a few nights out with his roommates in college that he'd gotten used to it, though he never grew to love it. It was something you could have a couple of if the mood was right. What are you laughing at? Julianne pointed at his glass. You chug, I'll sip. Go on, finish it. Wait, what? It was the first time Leo had ever heard someone try to pressure him into drinking like that. He was stunned, but didn't bother arguing. He just picked up his pint glass and down in one go. Beer doesn't get you drunk so much as it bloats you. Drinking it that fast left his stomach feeling uncomfortably full of gas. Watching Leo chug the beer without so much as a change in expression, Julianne thought, isn't he supposed to be a one-drink wonder? He looks completely fine. She ate a few peanuts to get the taste of beer out of her mouth, then refilled his glass. She held up her own half-sipped glass. Round two. You chug, I sip. No way, Leo said with a laugh. That's not how this works. You take one sip and I have to chug a whole glass? That's just mean. Seeing his resistance, Julianne thought for a moment. Fine. We'll both chug it. Deal. Leo nodded. Clink. This time Leo again downed his entire pint in one go. Julianne, on the other hand, finished hers in 3 large, pained gulps. Afterward, she could feel her face getting hot. Leo, in contrast, was still calmly eating peanuts like nothing had happened. I thought you said you were a lightweight, a one-drink wonder? She asked, confused. I am, he nodded. When it comes to tequila, one shot and I'm out. What? You. Julianne couldn't believe it. She had been hoisted by her own petard. In her single-minded quest to get him drunk, she had ended up getting drunk herself. Why is your face so red? Leo asked, noticing the 2 bright patches of color that had suddenly appeared on her cheeks. You're not drunk, are you? Of course not, she said, shaking her head. She just felt something churning in her stomach and had a strong urge to burp. She refused to believe one beer could get her drunk, even if it was her first time. The garlic clams had arrived. She quickly started shoveling them into her mouth, naively thinking food could settle her stomach. Leo watched her strange behavior and decided it was probably best not to drink any more with her. He just quietly picked up his chopsticks and started eating. The food was genuinely good. The chef at this place really knew what he was doing. After trying a bit of everything, Leo couldn't decide which dish was the best. He picked up a chicken wing from the pot and offered it to her. Do you want this chick? What's with that look? Julianne was leaning forward, her chin in her hands, elbows on the table, staring at him with a mischievous, almost predatory expression. It made him a little nervous. It was the kind of fear you get from watching an old horror movie when the beautiful but deadly siren gives you a come-hither look. But it wasn't actually that scary. The 2 cute red splotches on her cheeks and the silly grin on her face gave her a kind of clumsy, adorable charm. You're not drunk, are you? He asked quietly. She shook her head. Are you kidding me? Of course I'm not drunk. Heh. Right? And I'm the king of England. Leo's face fell. If it weren't for her dopey giggle, he might have actually believed her. Leo, she suddenly exclaimed, standing up and walking around the table to him. What now? He looked up at her woozy figure. You're not going to use being drunk as an excuse to hit me, are you? She suddenly leaned in close, cutting him off mid-sentence. She was so close. So close. He could smell the alcohol on her breath, mixed with the faint, sweet scent of white camellia. Staring at her exquisite, almost bewitching face from this distance, he felt his own head start to spin, his mind going completely blank. Leo took a deep breath, his nostrils filled with the scent of flowers and alcohol. What are you doing? He managed. I'm telling you, don't think you can do whatever you want just because you're drunk. If you dare. Before he could finish, Julianne reached out and cupped his face. Heh. She squinted, smiling like a fool. Leo's eyes widened. What? What do you think you're doing? Her gaze fell on a smudge of red chili oil at the corner of his mouth. You have something. On your lip, she slurred. Let me get it. And with that, She tilted her head up and pressed her lips to his. Why, MMPH? The distance between them was so small that Leo had no time to react. The moment he opened his mouth to protest, it was covered by her warm, soft lips. He was completely stunned. Did Julianne Hale just kiss me? I, the author, was just forcibly kissed by my own villainous character. Leo's eyes were so wide he felt like they might pop out of his head. Across from him, Julianne was leaning over, her hands braced on a chair, her eyes closed, her lips gently pressed against his. The soft, warm sensation sent a jolt through his nerves, pulling him into a daze. His mind was a tangled mess. Logic told him to push her away immediately. But looking at her enchanting face, at the sexy teardrop mole beneath her eye, he felt as if he were under a spell. He hesitated. Their faces were almost touching. Her eyelashes were long, and every time they fluttered, it was like a soft feather brushing against his skin. The delicate contact sent a shiver through him, a tingly, prickling sensation that spread through his entire body, as if a million tiny ants were crawling over him. The strange feeling churned inside him like a tornado. Her cheeks were scorching hot, as if she had just run a marathon under the summer sun. The blush that spread across them was the color of a freshly cooked crab shell, a deep, inviting red. He could feel the waves of heat radiating from her face, warming his own. And then that heat stained his own cheeks red as he stared at her, dumbfounded. Swish! Before he could even process the kiss, she stood up straight. But her drunken legs were unsteady. The moment she stood, she stumbled and fell right into his lap. He caught her, his hands carefully avoiding any place they shouldn't be. Oof! She gasped, her eyes squeezing shut as she fell. When she realized he'd caught her, she slowly opened them again. Using his chest for support, she pushed herself up. The position was incredibly intimate. Leo stared at her, his face flushed all the way to his ears. Heh. Her eyes curved into crescents as she gave him a silly grin. Your mouth is clean now. Wait, your chest. Why is it moving? She asked, her gaze drifting down to where her hand was resting. She leaned in again. Seeing her beautiful face rushing toward his again, Leo instinctively squeezed his eyes shut. She bent down and pressed her ear to his chest. Thump, 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 thump. Is that a heartbeat? She tilted her head, looking up at him with a dopey expression. Why is your heart beating so fast? Leo took a ragged breath. If you move away from me, it won't be so fast. Oh. She obediently did as she was told, returning to her seat across the table. How about now? Is it better? She asked, propping her chin on her hands and smiling at him. Leo nodded, too embarrassed to meet her eyes. Okay, just sit there. Don't move, all right? Okay, she mumbled, her eyelids drooping. Her gaze drifted to the pot of beef brisket bubbling over the small flame, her eyes unfocused, her thoughts a mystery. Leo's heart was still hammering against his ribs, his mind a chaotic mess. He pulled out his phone and started scrolling aimlessly, trying to distract himself, but the memory of the kiss kept replaying in his head. It was his first kiss. How was he supposed to calm down? He'd been kissed by Julianne. He had really, truly been kissed by Julianne Hale. Just like that. So that's what a kiss felt like. That soft, strange, wonderful feeling. Like Julianne, he found himself staring into the bubbling pot, lost in thought. They sat like that for what felt like an eternity, until, without any warning, Julianne's head slumped forward and landed on the table with a soft thud. The sudden movement startled Leo. For a second, he was afraid she had alcohol poisoning. He jumped up and gently checked her breathing. It was steady. He lifted one of her eyelids. Her eyes looked normal. She had just passed out. After her one big glass of beer, she had only eaten a few peanuts and clams. Once the alcohol hit, she just sat there in a daze. Leo was the only one who had eaten any of the massive spread. Now that she was asleep, he had lost his appetite, too. He called the owner over to pack up all the food, adding an order of egg fried rice to the takeout bags. He then called an Uber XL to take the food back to campus first. He also called for a designated driver for his car. The driver showed up on a foldable e-scooter, which he obviously couldn't put on the leather passenger seat of the Koenigsegg. So, the driver left his scooter by the curb, and Leo had him toss it in the trunk of the regular Uber he called for himself and Julianne. On the way back to campus, a warm breeze blew through the open window. Leo looked down at Julianne, who was sleeping soundly against his shoulder, his thoughts still a jumble. Sir, he said to the driver, do you know what love is? The driver's lips curved into a slight smile. Puke in my car, and it's $200. Leo chuckled. The driver was laughing at his naivete about the cost of cleaning a car. He was laughing because the driver didn't understand love. Looking down at the girl sleeping in his arms, Leo fell silent again, lost in thought. The Uber couldn't enter campus grounds. The designated driver parked Leo's car in the faculty lot and then jogged out to the main gate to meet them. Leo paid him, took back his keys, and then carefully scooped Julianne up into his arms to walk back to the dorms. She was a good head shorter than him and wasn't heavy, so carrying her wasn't difficult, but it was a long walk from the gate to the women's residence hall. The security guard at the gate eagerly asked if he needed help. Leo thought about it for a second before politely declining and continuing on his way. Looking down at her sleeping soundly, her eyes peacefully closed, Leo whispered, "You're so heavy, Julianne. You're a little fatty." She mumbled something in her sleep. "Am not." "Oh, so you're awake?" he asked, surprised. "Not drunk." "Okay." So she was definitely drunk enough to be talking in her sleep. Seeing her like this, he decided to continue his interrogation. "Julianne, why did you want to drink with me tonight?" "Wanted to get your secrets." Tell me all your secrets." Leo froze for a second, then a small smile touched his lips. "You silly girl. I don't have any secrets." Now, Leo is a big liar. He has lots of secrets. "Oh yeah? Like what?" He's so nice to me. He must want something from me. And he's kinda cute." Heh. TSK. It's rare to hear you compliment me, even if you were drunk." Leo. Why? Why are you so good to me?" A sad smile crossed his face. "Because I created you," he thought. "And I'm the one who brought you all this misfortune." "Leo, don't be so good to me anymore." "Why not?" he asked. "If you're too good to me, I can't pay you back." He looked at her face and smiled softly. "I don't need you to pay me back. This is all something I owe you." "I like him, but just a little. Really, just a little." Saraphina, stop asking me. I don't know." Hearing that, Leo finally understood. The whole string of confessions wasn't a conversation with him at all. The silly girl was just talking her sleep, and he'd been having a full-blown conversation with her dream self. He was just as out of it as she was. He took a shortcut and arrived at the women's residence hall. He sent a text to Saraphina, but she didn't reply. He didn't want to deal with Julianne's other two roommates. After a moment's thought, he decided to take her back to his own luxury suite. In his novel, he'd established that these two-person suites were co-ed, so carrying her upstairs was no problem. The door manager even kindly pressed the elevator button for him. The suites were based on high-end co-living apartments in major cities, a detail he'd added to emphasize the main character's status and to facilitate the plotline of the hero and heroine living together on campus. Who would have thought he'd be the first to benefit from that rule? He rang the doorbell several times, but there was no answer. He found it strange that Damien wasn't back yet either. He fumbled with the keypad, finally got the door open, and flicked on the living room lights. He gently placed Julianne on the sofa. She was still out cold. He went into his bedroom, straightened his messy blankets and sheets, and then carried her to his bed. After taking off her shoes, he tucked the covers around her waist. It was still early October, and the Ethelberg nights were mild, so she didn't need to be bundled up. He finished and turned to leave, but he paused at the doorway and walked back to the bed. He stood there, gazing at her peaceful, sleeping face, and it felt as if the entire world had gone silent. He had to admit, she looked adorable when she was asleep. The blush on her cheeks had faded, her skin returning to its flawless, pale color. His gaze drifted to her lips. The lipstick she'd applied that afternoon was long gone. Whether it had been eaten, kissed off, or rubbed away, he didn't know. Looking at those soft, rosy lips, he felt an overwhelming urge to kiss them, just like she had kissed him. As soon as the strange thought entered his mind, he felt as if the teardrop mole under her had come alive, beckoning him, tempting him to lean in closer to get a better look at her face, at that mole. He bent down slightly, then gasped, horrified by his own impulse. He stumbled back several steps and fled the room. I must be going crazy. He collapsed onto the living room sofa and forced himself to think seriously about his relationship with Julianne. She liked him. He couldn't be 100% certain, but it was obvious she had a crush. And what about him? Did he like her? He probably didn't, right? Because you have to have a reason to like someone, don't you? Right? He didn't like her. He just wanted to help her. All her suffering in this world was his fault. He felt guilty, and he wanted to save her. It was guilt, not love. And besides, if she ever found out that her entire miserable life was his creation, she would hate him, wouldn't she? If he confessed everything, she would never like him again. So, she didn't like the real him, and he didn't like the real her. But then why was his heart beating so fast? The image of the kiss was seared into his brain. Every time he thought about it, his heart raced. And when she'd press her ear to his chest to listen to his heartbeat, that made his heart race, too. Why? Was it just lust? Yes, that had to be it. He'd been single his whole life, and a girl had kissed him. It was just a physical reaction. Just now, in the bedroom, seeing her asleep, he'd want to take advantage of her. It was just lust. That's what it is, he muttered to himself, finally finding a logical explanation that fit. It's not love. It's just a crush. It's lust. But even as he said it, he didn't believe it. His heart was still pounding. He didn't want to admit it, but he thought he might actually be falling in love with his own villainess. Julianne's eyes fluttered open to a dark, unfamiliar room. For a moment, she was completely disoriented. Her hand fumbled in her pocket for her phone, but she only found the new wallet Leo had bought for her that afternoon. She twisted her head. The phone was on the nightstand beside her. She snatched it up. The screen glowed. 11:30 p.m. Flicking on the phone's flashlight, she fumbled for a switch on the bedside lamp. The room flooded with soft, warm light, revealing an environment that was clean, modern, and utterly alien. A wave of dizziness washed over her. Where am I? She sniffed the comforter. A familiar scent. Leo's. A jolt of panic shot through her. She threw back the covers and looked down. Her shoes were off, but otherwise, she was fully dressed. Breathing a small sigh of relief, she raked a hand through her hair, trying to piece together the last few hours. Weren't Leo and I having dinner? I thought it was only 6 o'clock. She rubbed her throbbing temples. The back of her head ached, as if someone had smacked her with a brick. I only had a little beer, didn't I? How could she have blacked out? And why did her head hurt so much? Just then, a soft knock came from the door. Knock, knock. Are you awake? Leo's voice muffled. I'm coming in. Julianne hesitated for a second before calling out. Okay, you can come in. Sober yet? Leo pushed the door open, a small, amused smile on his face as he looked at her sitting on the bed, looking thoroughly dazed. Do you recognize me? Julianne shot him a weary glare. I was drunk, not concussed. Good. I was worried you'd fried your brain. He said it lightly, but then his expression shifted, becoming tense. He met her eyes, his own searching. Do you remember anything that happened after you got drunk? Huh. Julianne shook her head, completely blank. What happened? Leo held her gaze, his intensity unnerving. You don't remember anything at all? She shook her head again, but the strange look on his face set her on edge. A dreadful thought began to form. She narrowed her eyes. You didn't. While I was drunk. You didn't do anything to me, did you? Don't be ridiculous. Leo yelped, a flicker of panic in his eyes. I'm a gentleman, okay? I would never take advantage of someone in that state. Stop projecting your own devious mind onto me. Julianne tilted her head, her pretty eyes glinting with suspicion. Then why do you look so nervous? It's just because. Leo started, but then clamped his mouth shut, forcing the words back down. He couldn't tell her. He couldn't tell her that she had been the one to kiss him. He had no idea how she'd react, what path that revelation would send him down. He was afraid of losing control of the situation, afraid of getting in any deeper than he already was. He couldn't lie to himself. He was falling for Julianne Hale. Hard, but he knew, with absolute certainty, that he couldn't be with her. Not until he told her the truth. The whole truth. And how could he ever do that? How could he look her in the eye and tell her that he was the architect of every misfortune she had ever suffered? Julianne's voice cut through his tortured thoughts. Because of what? She had a vague, dreamlike memory of doing something, but the details were lost in a fog. Never mind. It's nothing, Leo said, waving a dismissive hand. He looked at her seriously. But listen, if you get that drunk off one beer, you can't go drinking with other people. Got it? A blush crept up Julianne's neck. It was my first time drinking. Leo's eyes narrowed. Your first time? And you decided to use it to try and get information out of me. What? What did I say to you? Julianne asked, her face a mask of mortified curiosity. Whatever it was just drunken rambling. You can't take it seriously. Drunken rambling? More like in vino veritas, Leo shot back, poking her gently on the forehead. You know, for someone so smart, you do some really dumb things. And for someone so dumb, you're clever enough to cook up a scheme to get me drunk and spill my secrets. Julianne's eyes went wide. She ignored the insult and pressed. I didn't tell you. Everything, did I? Yup. What did I say? You said you were trying to get me drunk to get my secrets. And you also said I was handsome. That part was definitely the rambling. Don't believe it. What? Leo looked genuinely offended. You don't think I'm handsome? You're very handsome, she said, waving her hand dismissively. What else did I say? Leo's lips curled into a wicked little grin. You really want to know? Just tell me, she urged, her anxiety mounting. He chuckled, a mischievous glint in his eye. Nope, not telling. He turned to walk out. Hey, get back here. Julianne threw off the covers, not even bothering to find her shoes, and scrambled in front of him, blocking the doorway with her arms outstretched. She looked up at him, her expression dead serious. Tell me clearly, what exactly did I do after I got drunk? Honestly, nothing, Leo said, deliberately hiding the most important part. You got hammered, face planted on the table, and passed out. I called a cab to bring you back here. I tried calling Saraphina, but she didn't answer. And since I can't get into the girls' dorm, I brought you to mine. That's it. Julianne stared at his lips, a nagging feeling that she was forgetting something crucial. As she looked at his mouth, a faint image surfaced. Did she wipe his lips with a napkin after she got drunk? Honestly, Julianne, you're too much, she chided herself. Even drunk, you're still a busybody. Really, that's it. After he got back, all I did was take off your shoes, Leo said, holding up 3 fingers. If you don't believe me, I can swear a solemn oath. If I, Leo Miller, did anything to you while you were drunk, MMPH. Before he could finish, Julianne clapped a hand over his mouth. She shook her head. Forget it. I believe you. She did trust his character. With his status, if he really wanted to do something to her, he wouldn't need to wait until she was drunk. As the thought crossed her mind, a blush spread across her cheeks. What she hadn't accounted for, however, was not what he might do to her while she was drunk, but what she might do to him. Seeing her blush, Leo leaned in closer, his eyes narrowing playfully. Why's your face so red? Still drunk? Get away from me, she yelped, shoving him as his face loomed suddenly close. The second her palm made contact with his chest, a jolt of déjà vu shot through her. A question popped in her head, sharp and clear. After I got drunk, did I touch his chest too? Julianne had always heard people say you could drown your sorrows, that getting drunk made all your troubles disappear. Now, having experienced it firsthand, she knew it was all a lie. There was no joy to be found at the bottom of a bottle. Worse, the morning after was hell. Her mouth tasted like stale alcohol. Her memory was a complete blank, and every muscle in her body ached, especially the throbbing drumbeat inside her skull. Staring at her own tired, haggard reflection in the bathroom mirror, she wanted to slap herself. What a stupid idea. She hadn't gotten Leo drunk. She'd only succeeded in knocking herself out. It was pathetic. She glanced down at her palm. That familiar feeling when she'd pushed him. She was now 100% certain she had done something mortifyingly embarrassing while drunk. But since Leo was trying to spare her dignity by not bringing it up, she decided to be smart and not press the issue. There were, thankfully, no makeup removal products in a 2-man dorm room. That would have been truly terrifying. She settled for rinsing her mouth out with water and splashing her face. When she walked out of the bathroom, she saw Leo sitting on the couch, eating the leftovers they'd packed up from dinner. Here, Leo said, gesturing with his chin toward a small bowl on the coffee table. Drink this. What is it? Julianne walked over and lifted the lid. Inside was a full bowl of soup. She took a tentative sip. It was surprisingly delicious, a perfect balance of sour and sweet. This is good, yeah? Then finish it. What kind of soup is this? Something for morning sickness, he said with a completely straight face. Pfft. The joke was so deadpan it caught her completely off guard, and she choked on a mouthful of soup. Ha ha! Leo burst out laughing at her reaction. I'm kidding. It's just a hangover cure soup. Julianne looked up at him. Did you order this just for me? Leo said, quickly looking away. Don't flatter yourself. I had a bowl myself. Her eyes scanned the living room. There are no other empty bowls on the table or in the trash can. I already took the trash out. Then I'll go look outside. She made a move to stand up. Hey. Leo, caught in his lie, finally gave in. All right, stop looking. I only ordered 1 bowl. A satisfied smile spread across Julianne's face. Leo opened a container of steaming fried rice. Want some? Yes. She'd only had a beer and a few clams and peanuts for dinner. After her trip to the bathroom, she was suddenly ravenous. Leo divided the fried rice, giving her the larger portion and keeping the smaller half for himself. How was this food still hot after 4 or 5 hours? She asked, taking a bite of beef brisket. Because we have a microwave, genius, Leo said, pointing to one sitting on a counter behind her. I just heated everything up. You guys are allowed to have microwaves? She said, surprised. In our 4-person room, we can't even have a small electric hot pot. And how come your 2-person dorm has separate bedrooms? And a big living room? This is like a full apartment. Because our tuition is several hundred times more than yours, Leo said casually between bites. What? She gasped. Your tuition is hundreds of thousands of dollars a year? Yup. Leo nodded. Do you know why this academy has so many scholarships and work-study positions with such huge grants? Why? Because the rich students are paying for them. Julianne's jaw dropped. So you mean the wealthy students who aren't great academically are essentially funding a free platform for the smart students who don't have money? More or less, Leo said, putting down his chopsticks. But it's not an absolute rule. There are plenty of rich people who are also smart. Julianne nodded. But a poor person who isn't a good student would never get in. Of course not. Why would a university accept someone who has neither money nor ambition? They're not running a charity. Julianne nodded again, seeing the logic in his words. So, when you brought me back to the guy's dorm, the RA didn't report you? Of course not, Leo said, shaking his head. This building allows co-ed living. Oh, Julianne said, surprised. So those rumors are true. They are, Leo confirmed. But it requires consent from both parties. The university doesn't just assign a guy and a girl to live together. Oh, Julianne hummed quietly. You rich people really live on another level. Leo's face flushed. Don't lump me in with all of them. All right. You're one of the more normal ones, she conceded, then shoveled a few more bites of rice into her mouth. After a moment, she sighed contentedly. Fried rice after a hangover is the best thing ever. Leo watched her, a smile playing on his lips. Look at you, so easy to please. It's true. I barely ate anything, and my stomach was a wreck after drinking, she said, taking another large bite. A little fried rice and I feel human again. Leo chuckled. Someone who gets wasted on a single beer should probably stay away from alcohol from now on. I know, she replied. By the way, I don't remember us ordering fried rice tonight. I knew you hadn't eaten, so I ordered a main dish to go. Julianne's eyes sparkled as she looked at him. You ordered it just for me? Leo turned his head away again. Don't be so narcissistic. Of course not. TCH. Julianne rolled her eyes internally. Such a stubborn jerk. After a while, she suddenly said, Leo, I should kiss you. What? Leo was so startled he nearly dropped his container of rice. He scooted to the other end of the couch, his eyes wide with alarm. What are you talking about? What's gotten into you? Oh God, he thought. Did she remember something? What's with the big reaction? A sly, meaningful smile slowly spread across Julianne's face. Her eyes sparkled with a mischievous light as she spoke, her voice laced with playful ambiguity. You've been so good to me, and I have no way to repay you. So I guess I'll just have to offer myself. Don't be ridiculous, Leo said, breathing a sigh of relief. I don't need you to repay me. Julianne raised a delicate eyebrow, a ripple of flirtatious curiosity in her eyes. If you're not after my body, then why are you so good to me? What kind of forward talk is that? Leo yelped, the memory of her drunken kiss flashing in his mind. He answered nervously, We're good friends. It's normal for friends to help each other out, right? Is that so? Julianne nodded thoughtfully, a knowing look on her face. All right then, bestest of friends. Leo Miller is strange. He says one thing, but does another. He's good to me, but pretends he doesn't care, and he never asks for anything in return. But people don't just do things for others for no reason. At least, I don't believe they do. I have to find out what secret he's hiding. Julianne's notes. While they were eating, Julianne suddenly asked Leo, What did I do when I was drunk? My forehead still kind of hurts. What are you laughing at? Julianne glared at him. Spit it out. What happened? Leo pointed at her forehead. You got drunk, slammed your head on the table when you passed out, and slept on it. Of course your head hurts. Oh, hearing that, Julianne immediately went quiet, burying her face in her food without another word. The two of them, having barely eaten at the restaurant, devoured all the leftovers. Julianne was starving after sleeping on an empty, alcohol-sloshed stomach. Leo was hungry from the effort of carrying her all the way from the campus gate and then waiting for hours for her to wake up. After they finished, Julianne took the initiative to clean up the takeout containers and trash from the coffee table. Leo glanced at his watch. It was nearly 2 a.m. Kicking her out and sending her back to the women's dorm now would hardly be a gentlemanly thing to do. He watched her as she diligently tidied up. You can stay in my room tonight, he said. What? Julianne gasped, looking up at him. The two of us. In one room. Of course not, Leo said, looking at her with a mix of amusement and exasperation. I meant you can have my room to yourself. What's going on in that head of yours? You were the one who wasn't clear, she said, feigning composure. You can't blame me for getting the wrong idea. Okay, my fault. Happy. Leo had learned his lesson. There was no point in arguing with a girl over who was right or wrong. In the end, you just have to be the one to appease her anyway. It is your fault, Julianne huffed, satisfied with his surrender. She tied up the trash bag and set it by the door. There were too many containers to stuff into the living room trash can, so she planned to take it out for him in the morning. After cleaning, she sat down on the couch next to him. "If you're giving me your room, where are you going to sleep?" "Under the bed," Leo said with a perfectly straight face. "And if I can't sleep, I'll just scratch at the floorboards." Julianne couldn't help but laugh. "Get out of here," she said, swatting at him. "I'm being serious." Leo pointed to the other bedroom door. "I'll crash with Damien for the night. But he's not back yet, and his door is locked from the inside." Julianne squinted at him. "You two guys, sleeping in the same room. What's with that look?" Leo said, a dark cloud forming over his head. "Damien and I are just bros. Don't you go shipping us." "MHMM." Julianne just smiled and nodded. "Go away," he grumbled, rolling his eyes. "Speaking of which, how is that guy still not back yet?" At the mention of Damien, Julianne pulled out her phone. "Saraphina isn't back either. I just messaged her, and she hasn't replied." Leo stared at his own phone, thinking for a moment. Neither of them are answering. "You don't think it's possible that?" Julianne's eyes widened. "No, that's not possible, right?" They both broke into innocent smiles, their minds clearly in the gutter. Time rewinds to that afternoon, after Damien had sent Zoe Zhang back to her dorm. "Where's Zoe?" Saraphina asked, returning from the restroom to find Damien sitting alone by the lake. Her roommate called her back for something," Damien lied smoothly. To prevent the third wheel from returning, he immediately suggested, "Let me take you to dinner." Saraphina blinked. "Dinner? Now? Where are we going?" "Don't worry about it. Let's just get off campus first. We'll figure out the rest later." Without another word, Damien grabbed her hand and, in a scene straight out of a rom-com, jogged with her to the parking garage, where he ushered her into his sports car and sped away from the university. He hadn't thought it through much. He just needed to get away before Zoe reappeared. This time, Damien had the good sense not to take her to a street food vendor. He brought her to a high-end, specialty Chinese restaurant in Ethelberg City. They were seated in an elegant, private room with exquisitely plated dishes and dim, ambient lighting that immediately set a romantic mood. Saraphina ate gracefully. After tasting a slice of Peking duck with caviar, she commented, "I thought you were going to take me to a taco truck again tonight." Damien chuckled, slightly embarrassed. "Miller told me last time that it's not always a good idea to take a girl to cheap places, so I learned my lesson." "You guys talk about this stuff?" she asked. "Yeah," Damien nodded. "So, is this restaurant to your liking?" It's very nice," Saraphina nodded, then added without thinking, "It's almost as good as my family's chef." "Huh? Your family's chef?" Damien was taken aback. In his mind, Saraphina was from an ordinary family. Why would an ordinary family have a private chef? Saraphina realized her slip-up and quickly waved her hands, trying to backtrack. No, you misheard me. I said, my dad is a chef. The food here is almost as good as my dad's cooking." "Yes, that's it." "Oh, I see," Damien nodded. "That's great. With your father being a master chef, you must eat really well at home." It's all right," Saraphina mumbled, too flustered from her lie to look him in the eye. Damien, oblivious to the real reason for her averted gaze, thought to himself, "Why won't she look at me? Could it be, has she already fallen for me?" He flashed an internal alpha-billionaire smirk. "Woman, I knew you wouldn't be able to resist me." After dinner, they weren't in a hurry to get back. Damien took Saraphina for a walk around the lake behind the restaurant. They ended up sitting on the bank chatting. Damien's conversation always managed to make her laugh. After spending so much time with him, Saraphina found herself growing more and more fond of this big kid who was a strange mix of mature and childish. But then she remembered. She looked up at the moon, lost in thought for a long moment before saying, "Damien, can I ask you a question?" He turned to her. "What is it?" This is it, he thought. "Woman, you can't hold back any longer. You're finally going to confess your love for me." Another alpha-billionaire smirk. Saraphina looked him straight in the eye and asked with utmost seriousness, "Why? Are you in love with Leo Miller?" What the hell? After his initial shriek, Damien shot to his feet. "Me? In love with Miller? How is that even possible? We're just bros." "Wow, what?" Saraphina's mouth fell open. "So you don't like guys?" Hearing this, Damien's own jaw dropped. "Of course I don't like guys. Who told you that? Was it Zoe Zhang? This is slander. Pure, unadulterated slander." His mind immediately jumped to Zoe. It had to be her. That detestable third wheel must have deliberately spread rumors about him being gay to steal Saraphina away. The thought sent a murderous rage through him. "Zoe Zhang, you see that internally you dare to interfere with my relationship with Saraphina? I'll have your entire family's business bankrupt by morning." He was already reaching for his phone to make the call. Wait, hold on. Saraphina quickly stopped him. No one spread any rumors. It was my misunderstanding. Huh. Damien frowned at her, confused. What could Miller and I have possibly done to give you such a massive misunderstanding? Well, you and Leo are always together on campus, and whenever you talk, you lean in and whisper in each other's ears, so I thought. Seraphina's voice trailed off, her confidence evaporating. It was only now that she realized the true depth of her misjudgment. Thinking back, it had always been her own imagination running wild. They had never done anything particularly strange. Damn it, she thought, reading too much fanfiction is a menace. She was secretly relieved she had finally asked, or this misunderstanding would have festered forever. Damien, however, was not so calm. He turned to face her. I like women. How could you not tell that I like? Whoa. Splash. Before he could finish his sentence, he lost his balance while turning, toppled backward, and fell straight into the lake. Seraphina screamed. Seeing the park was deserted, she didn't think twice. She took a deep breath and plunged into the water after him. A few minutes later, Seraphina, why would you jump in if you can't swim? Damien gasped, hauling her to the bank. He shoved her onto the grassy edge, then gripped the stones of the embankment and struggled to pull himself out. Phew! He lay on the stone path, catching his breath. He turned to look at Seraphina, who was sitting beside him, still in shock. A small smile tugged at his lips. It was almost funny. He could have easily swum to shore himself, but then she had jumped in after him. And the most important part? She couldn't swim. She'd just been flailing around, forcing him to expend extra energy to rescue her. Luckily, the lake wasn't too deep, and they were both fine. Seraphina took a deep breath. I saw you fall in, and I just wanted to save you. Damien stood up, his tone slightly exasperated. You jumped in without knowing how to swim. If I couldn't swim either, would we both have died in this lake tonight? Faced with his scolding, Seraphina bit her lip, unable to say anything. She just looked up at him, her eyes wide and pleading. Her long hair was dotted with glittering water droplets. Her innocent eyes shimmered as if covered by a thin layer of mist. She chewed on her pink lower lip, looking like a child who had just been caught doing something wrong. Her wet clothes clung to her skin, outlining her graceful figure. Damien looked down, and the moment their eyes met, his heart gave a violent lurch, as if Cupid had just shot an entire quiver of arrows into his chest. It was over. He was completely, utterly in love. I'm sorry, Seraphina whispered. It was an emergency, and I just panicked. No, it's not your fault. It's mine. Damien interrupted, then, without warning, raised his left hand and slapped himself across the face. Smack! Seraphina stared at him, dumbfounded by his bizarre action. Why did you just slap yourself? My voice was too loud just now. I'm apologizing to you, Damien said earnestly. And thank you for caring about me enough to risk your own life to save me. Don't say that. Seraphina quickly waved her hands. Knowing that Damien wasn't gay, she felt a pang of guilt for having misunderstood him for so long. But then a new thought dawned on her. If Damien and Leo were a couple, didn't that mean she had a chance? 1 second she was filled with guilt, the next her spirits soared, and an unconscious smile spread across her face. Only Damien was left wondering what she was smiling about. He extended a hand to her. Let's go. She asked, confused. Go where? We can't go back to campus looking like a pair of drowned rats, can we? He said with a wry smile. We need to get this sorted out. All right. Seraphina nodded and placed her hand in his. He pulled her at her feet, but didn't let go, leading her toward the parking garage. If one ignored the fact that they were both dripping wet, the moment was actually quite romantic. The October nights in Ethelberg weren't cold yet. If this had happened in November, they'd both be sick by now. Where are we going? Seraphina asked timidly. To a hotel. What? Damien drove to one of his family's hotels, whisked Seraphina past the front desk, and took her straight up to the presidential suite on the top floor. The moment they were inside, he started shrugging off his jacket. This sent Seraphina into a panic. She took 2 steps back. What? What do you think you're doing? Taking a shower, what else? Well, go into the bathroom to take your clothes off. All right, good point. I'm just used to staying here alone, Damien said, nodding awkwardly. He pointed to the master bedroom. I'll use the main bathroom out here. There's a smaller one in there for you. All right. Wait, I don't have any clothes. Use the phone in the master bedroom and call the front desk. Just give them your sizes, and someone will bring everything up. With that, Damien disappeared into the bathroom. Seraphina hurried into the master bedroom and locked the door behind her. Hiding in the room, Her heart hammered against her ribs. What am I doing? I actually followed a boy to a hotel to take a shower. Julianne stared at her phone, which showed the call hadn't connected. That's weird, she mumbled. Why is Saraphina's phone turned off? I called Damien's phone too, Leo said. Also off. A wave of anxiety hit Julianne. You don't think something happened to them, do you? Probably not, Leo said, shaking his head. Damien and Saraphina were the main characters of the book. They were practically wrapped in plot armor. Nothing truly bad could happen to them. Any accident would be resolved without any real danger. You should go to bed, Leo told her. I'll wait here on the couch for Damien to get back. I slept for so long. I'm not tired at all, Julianne said, scooting a little closer to him. I'll wait with you for a bit. She finished with a deliberate, playful arch of her eyebrows. Leo nodded. Okay, we can use the time to brainstorm ideas for your new book. No, you... Julianne was speechless. She shot him a glare. You know what? I'm exhausted. Going to bed now. She spun around, walked into his bedroom, and locked the door from inside. Lying in Leo's bed, Julianne tossed and turned, unable to fall back asleep. She wasn't sure why. Maybe she'd slept too long while drunk, or maybe she was just a light sleeper, unable to relax in a new environment. But there was another, more likely reason. Leo was sitting right outside her door. Unable to sleep, she stared up at the ceiling, replaying the events of the evening. The memories before she'd blacked out were a total blur. It felt like a dream. In the dream, Saraphina had asked her why she was drinking with Leo. She'd replied that she was trying to get his secrets, that he was hiding so many things. Then, Leo had appeared. She grabbed his hand and asked, "Why are you so good to me?" And then, suddenly, he'd confessed his feelings for her. She had been stunned. He asked, "Do you like me?" And she'd frozen, finally answering, "I like you, but only a little bit." She'd said that because she was afraid. Afraid of being with someone as rich as Leo. Afraid his family would never approve of a poor girl like her. As she replayed the dream, a new image flashed in her mind. Leo, kissing her. She gasped and pulled the covers over her head, hiding from the thought. After a long moment, she peeked out, her eyes wide as she stared at the ceiling again. She was falling for Leo Miller. But would he ever like her back? And even if he did, could they ever really be together? Impossible. At least, not now. Leo was a real-life prince, but she was no princess. She thought back to their trip to the mall, the easy confidence with which he moved through a world of unimaginable wealth. The luxury goods she only ever saw online, costing tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, were things he could buy as casually as she bought a soda from a vending machine. How could she have been so naive as to imagine she could be with someone like that? Get a grip, Julianne, she whispered to the ceiling. You and Leo can only be friends. Even if he did like you, his family would never accept you. Just give up. In that moment, her deep-seated insecurity completely overwhelmed the budding feelings in her heart. The weakness and insecurity born from my family and upbringing are like an indelible brand seared into my heart. It makes me lose far more often than I gain. So I'm always doubting myself, always negating myself. Julianne's notes. Suddenly, an idea struck her. She sat up, grabbed her phone, and leaned against the headboard, opening her notes app to flesh out the plot of her new novel. She wrote for what felt like an eternity, and when she finally looked up, the page was full. A sense of accomplishment washed over her. The light was still on in the living room. She wanted to share her excitement with Leo. When she stepped out of the room, she saw him curled up on the couch, fast asleep. He was hugging his stomach, all balled up, looking both cute and a little pitiful. That idiot. He'd given her the bed and ended up falling asleep on the couch. It was almost 4 a.m. Damien clearly wasn't coming back tonight. Julianne went back into the bedroom, found a blanket in Leo's closet, and gently unfolded it over him. The nights were getting cooler. Sleeping without a cover, he'd definitely get cold. Leo seemed to be having a nightmare. His brow was furrowed, and his thick eyelashes fluttered like a butterfly's wings. His lips were pressed into a tight line, and he let out a soft whimper. Looking at his face, Julianne was lost in thought. She remembered when she was a little girl, whenever she had a nightmare, her grandmother would gently pat her back to soothe her. She mimicked the motion, softly patting Leo's back. In his sleep, his brow slowly unfurrowed. Watching him relax, Julianne felt her own lips curve into a sweet, gentle smile. She stayed like that for a long time, just looking at him, her gaze soft. After a moment, she whispered in a voice so quiet only she could hear, "Leo, if only you were just a normal person." She reached out, wanting to touch his forehead, but just as her hand neared him, he shot out a hand and grabbed her wrist. Julianne flinched, but a closer look revealed he was still fast asleep. It was just an unconscious reflex. His hand was warm, much warmer than hers. It felt like a little heat pack against her skin, a current of warmth flowing up her arm, through her body, and straight into her heart. The warmth filled her, and for a moment, it felt like a missing piece of her soul had just clicked into place. She didn't know when it had started, but just being with Leo made her feel happy and complete. After a minute, his grip loosened, and he shifted, stretching his legs out to lie flat on the couch. Julianne adjusted the blanket, making sure it covered him completely, before she quietly returned to the bedroom. Leaning against the closed door, she let out a long, slow breath. Her heart was hammering, especially from the moment he had grabbed her hand. She climbed back into bed, turned off the light, and stared at the ceiling. At 6 in the morning, the sky began to lighten. Dawn had broken. Julianne hadn't slept a wink. It wasn't until nearly 7 that a wave of drowsiness finally hit her. But she couldn't sleep now. She had an 8 a.m. class. She got up and opened the bedroom door, only to walk straight into Leo, who was just about to enter. Her face collided with his chest. Leo, still half asleep, looked down in bleary confusion at the girl in his arms. Julianne's face flushed beet red. She scrambled to her feet and mumbled, "Sorry." Leo noticed the dark circles under her eyes. "Did you not sleep well last night?" She nodded. "A little bit of insomnia, I guess. I can call your advisor and get you excused." "You should skip your morning class," he said, pulling out his phone. In some situations, his power as the unofficial class president carried more weight than an academic advisor's. "Don't." Julianne quickly stopped him. "I'm fine. I don't need to skip." He gave her a once-over. "You sure?" "I'm sure," she said, nodding firmly. "All right then." Leo carried the blanket from the couch back into his room and tossed it on the bed. "You're the one who covered me last night, right?" "Yeah," Julianne nodded. "I saw you asleep on the couch and was worried you'd get cold, so I found a blanket in your closet." "Thanks." Leo fiddled with his phone, grumbling. Where the hell did Damien go last night? He didn't come back at all. Julianne walked over to the bed and began to neatly fold the messy blanket. "Don't worry about that. I'll get it later," Leo said. "It's fine, I've got it." She finished folding it and placed it back in the closet. Turning to him, she said apologetically, "I'm sorry. I made you sleep on the couch all night. We're best friends, right? Don't apologize for something so small," Leo said with a careless wave. "But why the insomnia?" He looked down at her. The moment their eyes met, the image of him holding her hand flashed in her mind. Her face burned, and she quickly turned away. "I don't know. I'm going to use the bathroom." She sidestepped him and hurried out of the room. Leo watched her flee, thinking she was acting a little strange, but didn't dwell on it. He turned to his closet to find a new towel for her. In the bathroom, Julianne splashed her face with cold water, trying to wash away the exhaustion from a sleepless night. She was about to use a paper towel to dry her face when Leo knocked on the door. "Need a towel?" he called out. "It's new, never been used." She opened the door a crack, and Leo's hand appeared, holding a fresh towel. She took it and said, "Thanks." Wrapped inside the towel was a travel-sized tube of face wash. It was a freebie he got a while back and never used. He found it while looking for the towel. She gratefully used it to properly wash her face. When she was done, Julianne headed downstairs first. She told Leo she'd go to the cafeteria and grab him breakfast, but the real reason was that she was too embarrassed to be seen leaving his dorm room with him. A guy and a girl walking out of men's dorm room together would undoubtedly raise eyebrows. At the cafeteria, Julianne bought 2 bagels and a coffee for herself, then a bowl of wonton soup and a side of pot stickers for Leo. She was juggling the food, looking for a place to sit. "Hey, Julianne, there you are." Just as she found a table and set the food down, Stacy's son and Zoe Zhang appeared. Each of them was holding a cup of coffee, and they were walking toward her, shoulder to shoulder. Julianne's guard went up instantly. How did these two end up on the same team again? Outwardly, she maintained a friendly smile. "Hey guys, just grabbing some breakfast." Stacy sat down opposite her, without an invitation. "Where were you last night?" "It got too late, so I just went home," Julianne said with practiced ease. "Why, what's up?" Stacy shook her head. "Nothing, just asking. You were gone all night. I was worried about you." Julianne had to resist the urge to scoff. "Worried about me? You didn't send a single text all night, and now you're putting on this concern act?" While she was thinking, Zoe, who had remained standing, asked, "Are you eating all this by yourself, Julianne?" "I'm getting it for someone else," she replied flatly. "Who for?" Zoe asked, lifting her coffee to her lips. As she took a sip and went to lower the cup, her hand suddenly went limp. The cup tilted, and the dark liquid inside sloshed directly toward Julianne. But Julianne had been expecting something like this. The instant she saw Zoe's grip loosen, she shot backward. She stumbled, her center of gravity lost, and was about to fall when her head bumped into someone's chest. A pair of strong arms wrapped around her, steadying her. She looked up. It was Leo again. Including that morning, this was the second time today Julianne had crashed into Leo's arms. The only difference was this time, it was with the back of her head, not her face. Leo had seen her talking to Stacy and Zoe from across the cafeteria and had quickened his pace, worried she was being bullied. He was just a few feet away when Zoe's coffee slipped. He didn't even have time to react before Julianne staggered back. Crash! The coffee cup hit the table, splashing black coffee all over the wonton soup and pot stickers. Even her coffee was contaminated. The rest of it spilled onto the chair and the floor. If Julianne hadn't moved, it would have been all over her. Leo looked down at the dazed girl in his arms. Are you okay? I'm fine. Julianne stared up at him, a strange light in her eyes. Zoe and Stacy were momentarily stunned. This was not how they had envisioned this playing out. After a beat, Zoe rushed forward with a panicked expression. Oh my God, Julianne, are you okay? Look at my clumsy hand. I can't even hold a coffee cup. I'm so useless. She slapped her right hand with her left. The sound was loud, but there was no force behind it. Stacy also rushed over. Did any coffee get on you? No, Julianne managed, forcing a strained smile. Stacy immediately turned on Zoe. What is wrong with you, Zoe? If you don't want to make up, just say so. Why are you deliberately targeting Julianne? You bitch, don't you dare accuse me. Zoe fired back, pointing a finger at Stacy. You're the one who bought me an iced coffee. The cup was covered in condensation. That's why my hand slipped. You're the one who did this on purpose. The two of them started bickering, which quickly escalated into a half-hearted shoving match as they began to back away toward the cafeteria entrance. Julianne knew they were trying to escape. She was planning to let it go for now and deal with them later. But Leo wasn't about to let them off so easily. He let out a sharp roar. Get back here now. The two girls froze, startled by his shout. They turned to stare at him, wide-eyed. You think you can ruin my breakfast and just walk away? Leo said with a cold smirk. You two are going to pay for my meal. What? Stacy and Zoe stared at Leo, not comprehending. He pointed at the bowl of wontons, now stained a murky brown by the coffee. That was my breakfast. She was getting it from me. He gave Julianne's arm a tug, pulling her to his side. Pulled so abruptly against him. Julianne looked up, her expression one of stunned surprise. Was he really about to pick a fight with Stacy and Zoe? For her? Leo ignored her gaze, his face a cold mask as he addressed the two girls. You think you could just spill something on someone's food and run? Who do you think you are? I'm so sorry, Leo. Stacy said immediately. We didn't know Julianne was getting breakfast for you. Please don't be angry, Zoe added. We'll replace your breakfast right now. The two of them bowed apologetically, showering him with placating words. Leo gestured at the ruined table. Go, give me a new breakfast. Exactly the same as this one. Right away. They nodded frantically and scurried off toward the food counter. Stacy and Zoe were kicking themselves. Julianne and Saraphina had been gone all night, and during that time, they had reconciled and hatched a plan for revenge. Seeing Julianne in the cafeteria this morning, Stacy had come up with the brilliant idea of spilling coffee on her. They'd even planned for what came next. When Julianne went back to the dorm to change, they would lock her out of her room, making her late for their 8 a.m. class. The plan was perfect in theory, but reality had just thrown a bucket of cold water on it. Not only had they failed to humiliate Julianne, but they had managed to piss off Leo Miller. Everyone knew who he was. Getting on his bad side would make their lives at this university a living hell. They returned with 2 identical new breakfast orders, placing them reverently on the table. Leo, they asked timidly, is this? Leo glanced at the new bowl of wonton soup. I don't eat scallions. But Stacy pointed at the original bowl Julianne had bought. The one Julianne got for you had scallions in it. Leo shrugged. I wanted them then. I don't want them now. You got a problem with that? No, not at all. The two of them immediately ran back to buy another bowl of wonton soup, this time without scallions, thinking that would surely be the end of it. But when they returned, Leo pointed at the bowl and asked, Where's the cilantro? The cilantro. Stacy hesitated, then said, I'll go add some for you right now. I don't eat food that's been modified. Go get me a new bowl, Leo said, stopping her before she could take it. All right. Stacy nodded and trudged back to the counter to buy yet another new bowl, this one with cilantro. When she returned, Leo said, There's no chili oil. But Stacy started to protest, but Zoe tugged at her sleeve. After a brief, silent exchange of desperate looks, Stacy sighed in defeat. Okay. This time, they both went to buy it. The moment they were gone, Leo sat down and started eating the very first bowl of wontons they had bought, the one with scallions. "What are you waiting for? Eat," he said, gesturing to the other food on the table. "It's almost 7:30. If we don't hurry, we'll be late for class." "Oh, right. Okay." After a moment of stunned silence, Julianne sat down next to him. She was about to pick up a bagel when Leo stopped her. "Don't eat the bagel. Have some wontons." "Okay." Smart enough not to ask why, Julianne did as he said, taking the bowl of wontons without cilantro. "You don't like cilantro?" Leo asked. "I can eat it, but I'm not a huge fan," she replied. "Same here," Leo said with a small smile. He pushed the plate of pot stickers toward her. "I can't finish all 4 of these. Let's split them." "Okay." Julianne nodded. As she ate, a happy, warm feeling spread through her chest, and she had to fight to keep the grin off her face. By the time they were nearly finished, Stacy and Zoe returned, Zoe carefully holding a bowl of wontons with both cilantro and chili oil. When they saw that Leo and Julianne had eaten 2 of the 3 bowls they'd already bought, they just stood there, dumbfounded. They desperately wanted to ask, "Are you messing with us?" But they didn't have the guts. Leo didn't even look up at them. He pointed to the bagels on the table. "Took you long enough. The bagels are cold now. The coffee, too. Go get 2 fresh bagels and another coffee." Pfft. Julianne couldn't help but let out a small laugh. Only now did she understand why he hadn't let her eat the bagels. "Oh, okay." The 2 girls agreed through gritted teeth. They put down the hot wontons and turned around to go buy more food. Yes, Leo was blatantly messing with them, but what could they possibly do about it? When they returned with the bagels and coffee, Leo and Julianne had already finished their breakfast. Leo looked at the food in their hands and asked Julianne, "Are you still hungry?" She shook her head. "I'm full. I asked you to get a few things, and you take forever," Leo said to the 2 girls dismissively. "We're already full by the time you get back." The 2 girls were so angry they felt faint, but they couldn't say a word. Watching them, Julianne had to cover her mouth to keep from laughing out loud. Leo was truly ruthless. It was peak breakfast time, and the lines were long. He made them wait in line 4 times for wontons and another time for bagels and coffee. Their entire morning had been spent standing in line. But he wasn't done. He pointed to the remaining food on the table. "You 2 worked so hard waiting in all those lines. All this food was bought for you. It would be a shame to waste it. Sit down and eat it all." "What?" Stacy cried out. "We can't, President Miller. It's 7:45, our 8 a.m. Class is about to start." Leo cut her off. "If you knew you had an early class, then you shouldn't have bought so much food. That's just wasteful, isn't it?" "No, They were speechless. As class president, Leo continued, not waiting for them to finish. "It is my duty to punish you 2 for not cherishing your food. Now, eat everything you bought. You're not going to class until you're finished." "Fine." The 2 of them looked at the mountain of food before them, on the verge of tears. They had truly dug their own graves. "Oh, and this one too," Leo said, pushing the original coffee-soaked breakfast toward them. "Don't waste a single bite. I can check the security footage on my phone anytime." He pointed to the dome camera in the corner of the ceiling, then gave them a benevolent smile before turning and walking out of the cafeteria. Julianne followed him like a loyal sidekick, leaving the 2 girls to their fate. After they left, Stacy and Zoe sat at the table with miserable expressions, forcing down breakfast and whispering under their breath, away from the camera's view. "That bitch Julianne," Stacy hissed. "She really did manage to hook a big fish like Leo Miller. No wonder she was so bold." "What do we do now?" Zoe whispered back. "With him backing her, it's going to be impossible to get back at her." "For now, we can't make an enemy of her," Stacy said, her eyes glinting with malice. "But I don't believe for a second that Leo Miller will protect her forever. When we get another chance, we'll settle all our scores at once, old and new." They both stared at the coffee-soaked wontons with pure, unadulterated hatred. "Ha ha!" The moment they were outside the cafeteria, Julianne burst out laughing. She playfully punched Leo's shoulder. "You are so wicked." Leo crossed his arms, a smirk on his face. "It's called strategy, sweetheart." He couldn't exactly start a brawl in the middle of the cafeteria. This method was far more effective. It was a bloodless victory that served as a warning, would torment them for a while, and wouldn't get him into any trouble. It was a perfect little scheme. He had learned all these little tricks back when he was trying to write Julianne's character as cunning and devious. In the book, she had used these tactics on the female lead. Now, using them himself, he had to admit it felt pretty damn good. "Well, you're a clever one then," Julianne said. As she looked at him, a single thought echoed her mind. "Did he just call me sweetheart?" "Of course I'm clever," Leo said, looking at her. "You, on the other hand, seemed to be getting dumber. He'd noticed a certain vacant, doe-eyed look in her eyes whenever she looked at him lately. Her gaze has gotten so soft, he thought. This doesn't fit the high IQ character I wrote at all. Is something making her stupid? What could possibly make her stupid? You're the stupid one. Julianne shot back, giving his shoulder a much harder smack. Hey, stop fooling around. We have 10 minutes until class starts. We're going to be late, Leo said, not even flinching from her hit. Julianne glanced at her phone and gasped. Oh crap, run. Luckily, the academic building was close to the cafeteria. They slipped into the classroom just as the warning bell rang, walking in side by side. Leo immediately claimed a spot in the back row. Julianne scanned the room, saw no sign of Saraphina, and naturally sat down next to him. Leo didn't object. Those two must have made up, Julianne said to him. Otherwise, they wouldn't be working together. Good thing I was suspicious, or I would have fallen for their trap. If Stacy and Zoe ever bully you again, you tell me, you hear? Leo said firmly. Hearing his words, a sly, fox-like grin spread across Julianne's face, as if she'd ever let those two morons bully her. She was about to say, they can't bully me. I'm the one who plays them, but she caught herself. Sometimes, showing a little vulnerability in front of Guy, maybe even a little playful flattery, was far more effective than constantly flexing her own capabilities. So, she nodded and said with mock adoration, with the great Leo Miller looking out for me, who would dare bully me? You're the best, Leo. Leo's ego soared, but he maintained a cool exterior. Oh, you know it was nothing. Don't let his straight face fool you. Internally, he was grinning like an idiot. He'd never been praised like that by a girl before. He felt invincible. At this rate, he wouldn't just take on a couple of nobodies. He'd take on the male protagonist himself. Seeing the corners of his mouth twitching upward, Julianne knew her flattery had hit its mark. She had him right where she wanted him. She immediately added, being friends with you must be the result of 8 lifetimes of good karma. Okay, that's enough, Leo said, trying to suppress his smile. There are people around. It's embarrassing. But she didn't stop. She leaned closer and whispered, it's true. You have the looks, the wealth, the brains. You're the dream man of countless girls. I wonder which lucky woman will end up with such a perfect man. Leo couldn't hold it in anymore. He broke into a wide, goofy grin. After a few more moments of ego stroking, Julianne switched back to the original topic. Speaking of which, how come Saraphina and Damien aren't in class yet? Her question snapped Leo back to reality. You're right. That guy still hasn't answered any of my messages. Julianne looked at him, a nervous edge to her voice. You don't think something really happened to them, do you? Impossible, Leo said with absolute certainty. Why are you so sure? She asked, curious. Because they have plot armor, he thought. But he couldn't say that out loud. He was still trying to figure out how to answer her when Damien and Saraphina walked into the classroom, right as the final bell for the start of class rang. It was almost poetic. Leo and Julianne had made the warning bell, and these two made the final bell. Damien surveyed the room, then marched straight to the row behind Leo and Julianne. He pointed at the 2 students already sitting there and said in his most commanding voice, I'm commandeering these 2 seats. Find somewhere else to sit. It was such a classic billionaire CEO line. Leo slapped a hand over his face, suffering from a severe case of secondhand embarrassment. Maybe we should, Saraphina started to say, wanting to stop Damien from bullying their classmates. But the 2 students shot up from their seats with lightning speed, nodding and bowing, because Damien had just pulled out his wallet and slapped a few $100 bills on the desk. Take this and scram. Yes, of course, Mr. Sterling. Please, have a seat, they said in unison, grabbing the cash. Damien gestured to the empty seats and said to Saraphina, sit. Okay. The words of protest died on her lips. Leo turned to look at the scene unfolding behind him and thought, oh God, did I teach him to do that too? Julianne twisted around to face Saraphina. Saraphina, where were you last night? I tried calling you, but your phone was off and you didn't answer my texts. A flicker of embarrassment crossed Saraphina's face. She shot a quick glance at Damien, then whispered to Julianne, my phone got wet and broke. My new one doesn't have a SIM card yet. Seeing her expression, Leo narrowed his eyes and fixed a suspicious glare on Damien. Miller, why are you looking at me like that? Damien said, looking uncomfortable under Leo's scrutiny. He then blurted out, my phone broke too. So, Leo's eyes narrowed into slits. Your phones got wet. Together? Damien looked awkward but maintained his cool, alpha billionaire facade. Yes, together. So how did both of your phones end up in the water at the same time? Leo pressed. Damien glanced furtively at Saraphina, then mumbled, "We were sitting by the lake, and our phones fell in." Then, Leo was about to ask another question, but Julianne beat him to it. "So where did you two go last night if you didn't come back to campus?" she asked, getting right to the heart of the matter. Air. Damien and Saraphina exchanged a look of perfect, synchronized panic, then both spoke at the same time. "We went to our respective homes." Saraphina said. "We went to a hotel together." Damien said. Saraphina had been planning to fudge the details, but she never imagined Damien would be so brutally honest. Her eyes went wide as she stared at him. Realizing his mistake, Damien offered her an awkward smile. "Oh, well, can't explain your way out of this one," Leo and Julianne said in unison, exchanging wicked grins as they started to heckle them. No, it's not what you think," Saraphina said, flustered. She looked at Damien, then quickly tried to explain. "The hotel room was a suite. He stayed in a master bedroom, and I slept in the guest room." "What?" Leo turned to Damien, his voice a stage whisper of admonishment. "Dude, you book a suite, and you make the girl sleep in the guest room?" Damien was at a loss. He scratched his head. "I was going to let her have the master, but—" Leo cut him off, leaning in a whisper in his ear. "Is the room choice really the point here? The point is, you got a girl to a hotel, and you slept in separate rooms? She gave you the opportunity, and you fumbled it." The words hit Damien like a ton of bricks. This was a path he had never even considered. "Wait, for real? Are we moving that fast? You just don't get it. Let me tell you, when a girl agrees to go to a hotel with you," Leo lectured, a master of theory but a coward in practice. After all, he brought Julianne back to his dorm last night and ended up on the couch. Damien listened intently, nodding seriously. When Leo was finished, he asked, "Hey Miller, why are your eyes so puffy? Didn't you sleep well?" "Ahem." Leo coughed awkwardly. "Pulled an all-nighter. Don't worry about the details." "Oh, okay." Damien nodded. While the boys were having their hushed discussion, Julianne and Saraphina were having a similar one. "You two were alone together all night," Julianne whispered, leaning close to Saraphina. "It wasn't like that." Saraphina insisted, her face beet red. "Julianne, seriously, it's not what you think. We fell in a lake, our clothes got wet, so we went to a hotel to take a shower. Our phones were ruined, and it was really late, so we didn't come back. Damien and I really slept in separate rooms. Nothing happened." "Okay, good," Julianne nodded. "You're so innocent. I was worried he'd take advantage of you." No, he's not that kind of person. Why are you defending him?" "I'm not." Saraphina blushed and quickly changed the subject. "Why did you call me last night?" No reason, it's nothing." The moment Saraphina brought up last night, Julianne's own face flushed. "You don't look so good," Saraphina said, noticing Julianne's expression and the faint shadows under her eyes. "Did you not sleep well?" "I went to bed pretty late," Julianne said, then asked nervously, "Do I look really ugly today?" Saraphina studied her face carefully and shook her head. "No, Julianne, you still look beautiful." "Oh, good." Julianne breathed a sigh of relief. "Settle down, class." Julianne was about to say more, but the economics professor had just walked in. This professor was notoriously strict. If you got caught talking in his class, he'd dock your participation grade. She had no choice but to drop it. At the exact same moment, Julianne and Leo both turned back to the front and reached for the single textbook on the desk between them. Julianne's was in her dorm. This one was Leo's. "Share?" Leo asked, looking at her. Julianne nodded. "Okay." In college, bringing a textbook was mostly optional anyway. The professor always had the relevant information on the PowerPoint slides. The book was more for a sense of participation. Neither Damien nor Saraphina had a textbook. So Damien, once again, activated his superpower of being rich, renting 2 books from the students next to them. The students were initially hesitant, but Damien offered so much cash they simply couldn't refuse. About 15 minutes into the lecture, Stacy and Zoe finally came rushing into the classroom. The professor stopped, took down their names, changed the -20 next to their names on his attendance sheet to a -10, and then allowed them to take their seats. At the Royal Academy, class participation made up 60% of the final grade, with exams making up the other 40. You needed a combined score of over 60 to pass. This professor had made it clear on the first day. One unexcused absence was a 20-point deduction, and being late was a 10-point deduction. This meant you could miss his class 4 times at most before you automatically failed and had to retake it. As Stacy and Zoe found their seats, they shot a venomous glare in Julianne's direction. The finance lecture was so dry that Leo started to doze off, his head bobbing like a chicken pecking at grain. Julianne watched him, a wicked little smile spreading across her face. She pulled out her phone, opened the camera, and was just about to snap an unflattering picture of him. "What are you doing?" As if sensing her intent, Leo's eyes snapped open. Julianne jumped, nearly dropping her phone. "And nothing," she stammered, quickly hiding her phone. "Oh, I know what you were doing. You were trying to take a picture of me sleeping, weren't you?" Leo pointed at her. "You're so mean." "I was not. Don't you dare accuse me of that. I'm not that kind of person," she protested, stuffing the phone in her pocket. She was confused. How did he suddenly get so smart? It wasn't that he'd gotten smarter. He just learned from experience. Back at his old university, his roommates were constantly taking embarrassing photos of him sleeping in class and turning them into memes. Of course, he'd done the same to them. During breaks, their group chat was just a constant war of unflattering sticker memes of each other. Ding. Just as she put her phone away, a text message alert chimed. She pulled it out again. It was a package delivery notification. She couldn't remember ordering anything recently. Then it hit her. It was the grand prize gift basket she'd won at the mall yesterday. She nudged Leo's arm. "Are you free at lunch?" "Not for a date," he shot back. Julianne's face fell. "You're an idiot. I was going to ask you to help me pick up a package." "What's in it for me?" Leo asked. "I'll treat you to a knuckle sandwich," she joked. "Fine, be a vicious woman," he pouted. "Then I'm not going with you." "Hey, I was just kidding," she said, tugging on his sleeve. "How about I buy you lunch?" "Deal," he nodded. After their morning classes, Julianne took Leo to the cafeteria for lunch. They went to the second floor for malatang, a build-your-own hot pot bowl that was surprisingly expensive. Just a few ingredients, and a block of instant ramen noodles came out to nearly $20. Leo, who got a bit more and opted for rice instead of noodles, came in just over $20. Their total was $44.50. When it was time to pay, Julianne winced. So expensive, she thought. I knew I shouldn't have craved hot pot, ugh. Seeing her pained expression, Leo chuckled to himself and pulled out his own meal card to pay for her. "Hey, no, I said I was treating you." Julianne intercepted him, swiping her own card before he had a chance. "It's just a meal. Why are you so worked up about it? You've treated me so many times. There's no way I'm letting you pay for this one," she said firmly. Leo smiled. "We're such good friends. Why do we have to keep score?" "No, we can't," she insisted. "Stop treating me all the time. It makes me feel really awkward." All right, you win," Leo nodded. While they waited for their food, Julianne showed him the outline she'd written last night. She had already finished the first chapter, and now, with the outline and character profiles done, she was on solid ground. But to make the story a hit, Leo felt like something was still missing. After reading the summary for the first volume and the male protagonist profile, he said, "What if you fleshed out the alpha billionaire character a bit more? Add some goofy, comedic elements." Julianne frowned. If the alpha billionaire is a goofball, won't that kill the power fantasy? "The power fantasy isn't a fixed thing," Leo explained. "Who says it can only be about making money and saving the damsel in distress? The contrast of a billionaire squatting on a curb slurping instant noodles could be its own kind of thrill. It all depends on how you execute the plot." Damien Sterling. "I feel like someone is talking trash about me behind my back." "Oh, you're right." Julianne's eyes lit up. "So you're saying that having the billionaire do things in the real world that defy common sense could also be satisfying for the reader?" "Exactly." Leo gave her a thumbs up. "You're a fast learner. You get it, of course." Julianne put her hands on her hips, a little puff of pride on her face. "Most of the time, I'm a genius." Their food was ready. Julianne added 2 large spoonfuls of chili sauce to her bowl. Seeing that Leo's broth was already fiery red, she defiantly scooped in 2 more. Not to be outdone, Leo added another spoonful to his own. They put a serious dent in the freshly filled chili sauce container. The cafeteria manager would probably weep. "How can you eat so much spice?" Julianne asked, curious. "It's delicious. Makes the food taste better," he said, then asked her, "What about you? Why do you like it so spicy?" "I didn't used to," she replied. "But when I was younger, there were times I didn't have money for food, so I'd eat plain bread with chili sauce. I got used to the taste, and eventually I started to love it. It really does make anything more palatable." Julianne was a sensitive and insecure person. The fact that she was willing to share her past so openly with Leo was proof that she truly considered him a good friend. Leo listened, his expression thoughtful. A bittersweet smile touched his lips. "If you ever don't have money for food again, just ask me for a loan." Julianne didn't answer him, thinking to herself, "If only you had shown up in my life a little sooner." After lunch, Leo went with her to pick up her prize. The huge box had actually been delivered to the university by a courier yesterday afternoon, but she hadn't had a chance to get it. She eagerly opened the box. Her eyes widened first with surprise, then with confusion. She pulled out a phone box and examined it closely. Why is there a brand new, top-of-the-line iPhone in a $1,000 computer gift basket? This phone alone costs more than $1,000. She had no idea how much the computer was worth, but she knew exactly how much the latest, top-spec iPhone cost. Who says a $1,000 gift basket can only contain $1,000 worth of stuff? Leo said, quickly spinning a lie to cover his tracks. Besides, I spent 30 grand just to get one chance at that lottery. It makes sense that the grand prize would be worth a couple thousand, right? I guess that's true, she conceded, not thinking about it any further. Well, open the phone and check it out, Leo urged. I'll open it later, when I get back to my room, she said, quickly putting the new phone back in the box. Seeing her reluctance, Leo tried again. Then what about the laptop? Open it up. This? Julianne hesitated again. Maybe I'll just open everything when I get back to the dorm. The truth was, she couldn't bear to use the phone or the computer. Her plan was to sell them both online. With that money, she could finally pay Leo back everything she owed him. Leo seemed to guess what she was thinking. You're not planning on selling all this to pay me back, are you? What?